Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 29th of July 2018. I'm your host Dan Drain. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
The correct time.
And Robert Kemp.
Is British summertime.
Is that the correct time?
Summertime!
It's not the universal time. It's one off.
It is one off. Now everything should just be, was it UST? Is that how it said? Is it UST or...
Nope.
Suddenly not remembering what UTC. There we go. Got it.
It's UTC, which is the dumbest initialism ever because it's like we wanted it to be Coordinated Universal Time, right? CUT, and then the French wanted it to be Temps Coordonné Universal or something, and then we ended up with one that isn't either. And just randomly mix the letters together so they don't make sense in French or in English.
There must be a... Well, I thought it was like Universal Time Code. They just called it that instead.
It's meant to be coordinated, so it should be Coordinated Universal Time, but instead it's Universal Time Coordinated because the French wanted it the other way around.
There might be some language that arranges its words like that. Where you go... Well, what? Yeah, no, that is a little weird, actually, isn't it?
It's a weird one.
When we think about it, it's like adjective, noun, adjective.
Because with NATO, they didn't bother. It just says NATO OTAN on the side of everything NATO to have the French version backwards.
Why do they have to appease the French?
Because they're part of the alliance, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess so are other languages.
That's
not
true.
Just French.
But the French are really weird about it, aren't they?
Oh,
and they get super uppity about it.
We do not want to speak English. Your language is ugly.
But they just continued the tradition of, like, well, everything else, like Eurovision, and everything else that randomly has to have everything being French as well.
Yeah,
that's true.
But, like, sometimes they win, like SI units, right? The international system units are called SI units, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. System International.
Yeah. Oh, we won this round.
We got you all this time.
Except I just think of that as being scientific international units. I just created an English version of that.
Yeah.
Of that in your head, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You could do the same with, yeah. So yes, UTC. But what's the difference between UTC and GMT? I do not... I actually don't know.
I mean, technically none, but I think GMT... yeah, good question.
Yep, good question. And what about Zulu time? You ever heard of that?
I've not heard of Zulu time.
It's the same thing, but in military they use like Z. So they'll say like 0800 Zulu, and that means 8 o'clock in the morning UTC
GMT.
or GMT, yeah.
Okay, I guess that's quicker to say because there aren't many time zones that start with a Z.
Yeah. So in the ISO 8601 standard...
I was about to say, yes, I've seen that. Yeah, they use that. They use
put
that
Z
in
on
programming.
the end. Yeah.
And,
so there you go.
And then an offset if you're working like that.
Yeah.
Even UTC codes all end in Z if there's an offset following.
So yeah, the dumbness of having a bunch of different names for the same thing, some of which don't even make sense on their own.
It's just like, yeah, there's no Z in time. There's no month called September.
But maybe there should be. We should add that.
September.
Yeah.
Or Zaptember.
Zoctober.
It's like it's a festival in the name of Zap Brannigan. September. Act like a chauvinist bastard month.
Definitely. I mean, the dupe would definitely...
Oh my goodness.
I wonder if they have a French version. The pood.
Dupe? Le pood.
Le pood.
Yeah, what would it be like? It would be probably pood, something like that.
I'm not sure.
L'odeur. No, it would be... planets would come at... planets would probably still come at the end, like Democratic Order of Planets, but it would be like Order of Planets Democratic.
Yeah,
so it would be the ODP.
Yeah.
We
Damn.
have to find a French dub of Futurama and find out.
Find out, yeah.
Yeah,
the only way to be sure.
But, yeah, how does that joke work in French? Like, because they're not going to go like they are going to have to come up with some other awkward thing and put a giant subtitle over the top and it'd be like "Bood."
And it's hard to kind of translate the fact that dupe sounds stupid, doesn't it? Like, like why does dupe sound stupid? I mean, we know it does.
Yeah, the same sort of reason like derp and all that. It's
Derp, yeah.
Did you know? Well, in my random watching of videos on YouTube that aren't necessarily in English, as I sometimes end up doing.
Okay.
Because I was watching.
Have you learnt anything from this?
Not really.
Okay.
Well, occasionally. Well, it's more like mainly when I'm watching German ones, it's like, I still vaguely recognise some of this. Like, I can almost understand what's going on sometimes. But I was watching more of the, like, random reactions to the Smash Brothers thing, because I still, like, you got still with trickles of those coming out even at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you're watching
but sometimes in other languages. But then, like, did you know that in Japanese, because I watched some Japanese ones, firstly, that presentation, I'm not sure if it's actually different or whether it just seems like it because you don't have the English, talking over it.
Right.
But it seemed like it was just better pace. Because you remember how I said it seemed like there was huge dramatic pauses because of the way the Japanese and English didn't line up. I think in the Japanese one, it was actually cut better. Like, there wasn't as dramatic pauses even between the Japanese phrases.
Are you sure it wasn't just cut for the Japanese originally and then dubbed
I was about to say,
English?
if it's using the same timing, the Japanese language does have more syllables generally.
Yeah, it didn't seem
but
like...
they do talk faster.
It seemed like there was, just pauses. Maybe, they'd added extra time in the cutting of the English version, but they didn't necessarily know how long the English was going to be, so they were just like, we'll just add a generic amount of space or something. But the other thing that I discovered when watching the Japanese version and was that, like, in Japanese it's called Super Smash Bros. Special.
Oh,
wow.
Which is kind of cooler.
That is cooler. Yeah. Ultimate has a bit of a problem because it
yes, it implies it's the last one.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which might actually be true, but
and that's also fine if you're doing a version of, like a special edition of a game that's already out. Right?
Well, that is kind of what they're doing, though.
Like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate makes sense because it's Capcom 3 Ultimate.
But usually they'd be like a deluxe or something when they did that with the Nintendo. But I guess that doesn't work for a fighting game. It has to be Ultra Mega Edition or something.
Punch Your Face Edition.
And then
Smash Your Face Edition.
The other fun thing about watching the other language versions of Smash Bros. Is, you gotta see the French and German and you got some Rondeau and and all the other hilarious Pokemon names. And Samus Sans Armor.
Oh, is that what? Is that the Zero Suit?
Zero Suit Samus. It's just Samus without armor. Yeah. The best translation.
Sans Amour.
Sans Amour.
It sounds like Loveless. Doesn't it? Sans Amour.
Dr. Loveless.
But Samus needs your love. These friends, they know how to name them. Puppy Love.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah. I don't think there's been any. Well, we haven't really checked, but because I don't think you could access the other languages in sound test on the recent ones.
That's the eternal question.
So if you found the Pokemon section, would there be any funny ones?
Well,
like in other languages?
There would
be. Just always like, isn't like Goldeen or in French like just basically roughly translates as fishy?
Yep.
Because it's like Poissierre or something.
Right.
But it sounded like it was super weird when you were playing the original one, and instead of like Goldeen, it would just go Poissierre, Poissierre.
I mean, yeah. When did you hear that first, like, in the games and not in the anime? Like, them actually say... Did they say their names in the games at all? I guess they do.
No.
Right, they must do.
Not until Smash.
Yeah, not do much later.
Yeah.
Oh, right, not until Smash. But Smash on the 64.
Yeah.
That's not that late compared to... Kind of been more than a few years after Pokemon came out, at least in Britain.
No, it can't have been that far away. But I guess the anime would have been in full swing, and I guess they would have said, well, we've got better audio capabilities, let's use the cartoon voice cast.
Say their names in Pokemon Stadium for the 64.
No, I don't think they did, no. Yeah. I think they just had the Game Boy noises.
Yeah. Like, they're so bit crunch, those.
Well, I mean, it's not like all of the Pokemon in Smash Bros. Actually said their name either. Some of them did.
No. Yeah, I don't think Meowth did, for instance. Meowth, I don't think has ever said it.
Like, a lot of them, like Meowth,
Weirdly.
Electrode, and Snorlax. Oh, no, I guess Snorlax kind of did. Except it was so
Snorlax
distorted that you could barely make out.
So can you hear Goldeen saying its name in a game then?
Only in the first Smash.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think after, was it? Did they, I don't think even in Melee. I don't think it did, because they changed it to just go.
I don't know if it's quite that extreme.
It's definitely not that extreme. It's not as cool as Goldeen. They really should have kept that, because it was always such a anti-climactic. Because I guess there was so little in terms of stuff in the original compared to what they have now, that Pokeballs were kind of a big deal. So when you threw one and a Goldeen came out, like, just Goldeen was such a genius anticlimax. It was great. But now for it to just go in the middle of all this other craziness going on, for it to just go it's not all that interesting.
Except for some reason they messed up that joke by making it a Goldeen instead of a Magikarp, which would have been the lot. What? Why?
True. Because wasn't there some no, wait, which one? Magikarp's the one that turns into Gyarados eventually? Yeah, because there was. I'm sure there were rumours going around that were totally wrong, where it's there was a way of putting that thing in water in one of the games and have it turn into a Gyarados.
No, it was if you put the Goldeen into water, it turns into Seaking, which is the Goldeen's evolution. But it doesn't.
No, that's why I mean that rumour went around and it was obviously wrong.
That's what I said.
No, but the Goldeen to Gyarados, I know that's not how it works, but I remember that floating around, in our younger.
I think you've misremembered it. I think it was a Seaking, and that was always the rumour.
Mm. Not how I remembered. Yeah.
But that's why you should have used Magikarp. If you go to the whole joke is it doesn't do anything, it just flops around. That's what Magikarp's for. Goldeen has actual attacks.
Yeah.
I don't think Goldeen even learnt Splash in the original games. It did in later games.
Does Magikarp say anything in the show? Does it just...
It says its name like everything in the show.
Yeah, but how does it say its name?
I don't know.
It's not as cool as Goldeen.
I'm sure it would have been much more boring sounding. Magikarp.
I don't remember hearing much from Goldeen in the anime. But I mean,
yeah,
there've been a lot of series.
It's true. There must have been some Goldeen action.
Well, yes, presumably in one of the very early series as they were getting through the first 150 Pokemon.
In order for them to have a voice actor for it, I suppose. Maybe they couldn't get the right. They didn't make Meowth speak because they couldn't get the same voice actor, and thought
I don't think they did have the same voice actor for any of the sound effects in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
I reckon they probably just got a voice actor to do it. They were like, here's what it sounds like in the anime, just try and replicate this. I highly doubt they actually got the people from the anime to do the sound effects for Smash Bros.
I think they'd have the power. It's because Pikachu always sounds like Pikachu, right?
Well, for Pikachu, that's maybe slightly different. Also because that's an actual character.
Yeah, but all Pikachus must sound the same. Yeah. Except Detective Pikachu.
But if they were going to bring in a voice actor specifically for a main character of Smash Bros., then that makes sense. But if you're going to have it for a Pokeball thing that only has one sound effect, you're not going to specifically get a specific voice actor for that. I mean, probably most of the Pokemon voices in the anime are done by one person, probably.
Yeah, almost certainly, yes.
Which means it would be a cheap hire.
Or not.
Or an easy hire. Less expensive than getting 50 guys in to do one sound effect. Or, they just cut it straight out of the anime.
Well,
can we get a sample of them saying Goldeen? Yeah, okay. Do we have any... maybe that was the reason why they used Goldeen. It's Magikarp's not been in the show yet.
Possibly.
So we haven't got a sound effect for you. Also, Porygon doesn't talk. Because he just goes, wow. before they made him Porygon 2.
Mm.
And even then he doesn't say anything, he still just goes, wow. Just comes out and destroys everything in front of his pointy face. Oh, Electrode doesn't. Or
I did say that.
oh yeah, you did.
But, like, you don't need to say anything, really. Just sits there and explodes.
And Staryu.
Yes. And the other various things that chuck things in the other games.
Well, yeah, and if you, yeah, I was only getting through the first game, so quite a lot that didn't talk there. But there's a lot that still don't talk. They just sort of make big creature noises.
I mean, I guess you could say that that's similar to the anime anyway, because they don't always literally talk. Like Charizard, classically in the anime, doesn't ever really say Charizard.
I thought he just goes, Char.
He just roars a lot.
Oh no, Charmander's.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure. No, I can't remember actually thinking about it.
The two previous evolutions of Charizard did say their name quite a bit.
Char.
Once he turned into Charizard, it was like, no, we're just going to downgrade to basically only ever roars.
This is a giant dragon. And it's funny because, I don't know, dragons probably talk more than most mythical creatures and animals.
Apparently it takes effort for the Pokemon to break out of saying their name, though. So, you could argue that a roar is actually, they've broken out of having to say their thing.
Yeah, except roar is a move, so...
No.
So that kind of...
Maybe that explains that. Yeah. I don't know why, but this thought just came into my head. I was thinking of Blastoise and how that dumb that must sound. It goes, Blastoise! And, how in nature, that's kind of a difficult phrase for it to say casually. And then...
It's quite difficult for any of them to casually say anything, you'd think, in nature.
I don't know, for Charmander, I just sort of go, Cha! Maybe that might make sense.
Okay, maybe.
The shorterings.
Yeah, the shortenings. But then for some reason, my head immediately just went, when something slams on the ground. Looks a little bit like Blastoise, but then my head goes, Zangief!
Zangief.
So now, in my headcanon, Zangief can only say Zangief.
Sudowoodo. You're wandering around. I want to see Sudowoodo in the anime. I bet that would be a weird episode.
Was Sudowoodo in any... He's not been in any of the Smash, has he? Got Bonsley.
Yeah, not quite.
Sudowoodo is a good name.
I was always a fan of Sudowoodo.
It's fantastic name. It's one of those good moments in Gold and Silver where it's like, oh, here's some of the new Pokemon we've added. Oh, this one's genius, because it's not that far into it. And it's
Except it sucked as a Pokemon.
Yeah.
It was a funny joke, but not a good Pokemon, really.
At least it wasn't a talking pile of garbage.
And I feel like I don't know if they... I don't think they went back and changed it later, because I think it is still just rock type. But, in the modern dual type era, you could have made that rock grass. That would have made it more legit.
Oh, of course, yeah. Is there a leaf type as well?
But it's Sudowoodo. So you can't make it too...
It's actually would.
Yeah, you can't make it too, live.
Yeah, but if you made it rock grass, it would be resistant to grass attacks.
Yes.
Or more resistant to grass attacks. I guess it would be, neutral.
Yeah, okay. I guess that'll make more sense. Is there any effort? Has there been any effort to reclassify Pokemon then?
Well, a lot of the first 150 got dual types.
Got dual types.
When those actually arrived.
Did they add types?
Yeah, a couple. Like Jigglypuff turned from normal to fairy.
Oh, of course, fairy type. Yeah.
Dragon type, isn't there? You'd think Charizard would be dragon type.
I think dragon type was...
It's for Gyarados, isn't it? He's got dragon.
Dragon was always in because it was for Dragonair and all them. Those
yeah.
I don't think dragon was in the first
I'm pretty
game,
sure it was.
Are you
Because
sure?
otherwise, what would have dragon been?
Water or something. I don't know.
Because
question.
then like the ones that did, I don't know if Charizard did get dragon as its second type. I don't remember what the original ones were, because for the starter Pokemon they made it so like in some of them only the last evolution gets a dual type. Like the first two are just fire and then once you get to the third evolution, then you get a dual type, and that kind of sucks for some of the games because you're like, I'm going to pick the fire starter, and then when you get towards the end of the game, it's like, well, now it's firefighting, and that's screwed up my type balance.
Yeah, no, I can understand it because suddenly the entire makeup of your team will be different because it's like, oh, he's now like weak to stuff that now I've got a hole in my team.
Yeah.
There's a hole in my team makeup. Give me syllables. Didn't work. Pretend it never happened. So I bought some Hue light bulbs.
Oh, you did?
Following on from last week's conversation, Prime Day happened. And it was all quite cheap. Well, cheapish.
Do you have Prime then? Everyone's got the Prime.
I do now, let's put it that way.
Oh, okay.
The Prime Day deals were
Sucks
good
you
enough
in.
that made me go, yeah, alright, let's do this.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, they're cool. I like them a lot.
Yeah, they're cool.
I like combined them with a couple of Echo Dots and got some proper dimmer switches for them, and have been immediately sucked into the world of, okay, now what can I do with them? What else can I do? And how fancy can I make this stuff? And the immediate problems of butting up against all the limitations of it, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like I just want little. There are certain commands in the Amazon ecosystem that don't exist yet that I would really love to be there. Like just simple, hey, schedule this command to run at this time.
Right.
Would be fantastic, right? Because then you could attach variables to things, and or like, I mean, even that's not really allowed, is it? If you're trying to run an if this then that straight from an Alexa command, then it will just, you can't attach a variable to that. You can't interpret one, so you've got to write a skill to handle that stuff.
Oh, Christ. And how do you write a skill? I've not done the Amazon stuff. Do you have to write a skill?
So I'm experiment. I'm at the very early. I haven't really written anything yet, but
do you have to write it with code? Is what I mean.
There's a bit of code, yeah.
Okay.
You've the main interface for designing your vocal thing. It seems kind of okay. It's like you define. It's like, okay, what are your intents? What are the utterances people could say? What are your variables that could go in those utterances? And it builds up like a vocal model for how things can work. Although I'm going to say that the documentation for that stuff is kind of naff.
Well,
I mean, it's good to get the basics, but then how you actually use it in a real thing, I think it all falls apart. And it's like, okay, so what these variables they call slots. It's like, okay, could I use one? I saw an example where people were using them to, like, say, synonyms of words. For instance, if you were to say like create a new thing, that word create you could make into a slot variable and be like, okay, actually, instead of me writing a billion combinations of utterances,
right,
that could come out to do this command, actually, what I need to do is write a fewer number of combinations and replace some of the synonyms with a slot. It'd be like, so create, make, start, build,
Makes
do
sense.
a thing.
Yeah.
Make that, and then you reduce it all. But then it's like, but then I thought, oh, that's cool. So I started writing these things, and there was like, oh, but yeah, but the variables, when you define a variable, you have to define a list of outcomes for that variable. And it's like, okay, so what do I do if someone says something random, or if I want them to name something? And it's like, no, that's fine, that'll work too. And I'm like, okay, so why am I defining? If I've got a variable that can both be anything and from a defined list, and there's no switch between the two, are my synonyms just going to go mental? So can someone say, if I was making a list-making app, could I just say, cheese a new list, please? And it would just put into the create synonym the word cheese, like in the response I get. And it's
Well, it will just guess that to put cheese into the list for
into that slot, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So what you do? And I'm sure there's some magic going on the Alexa side that's like deciding this stuff. but it's just like, well, what if I don't want that to happen? What if I do want only a specific list? And yeah, anyway, there's a lot of stuff I'm not quite sure about. And then when you do that stuff, you then can say your intent hands off to some sort of web service and or Lambda function. So that's the route I'm going to be looking at, is like, how do you write Lambdas?
Oh, I've done that. I didn't realize you could run Lambda functions. That's crazy. You could do anything with that.
Yeah, but this is where it's entering territory that me, as a developer, like the tech behind it, is just not stuff I've used. And apparently you can do C# stuff in there now, but actually it's not all that easy to set up. So
C# Lambdas.
So yeah. I'm actually just in a little bit in the dark as to how this stuff all
you probably
comes
just
together.
do JavaScript ones. They're quite straight. I mean,
there is a Node framework for it.
Yeah, I've done JavaScript Lambdas before. It's quite straightforward. Okay. It's good because you don't have to run a server, obviously, or worry about this framework or anything. It's just a bit annoying. You have to like connect it up to API gateway if you want to like make a REST call to trigger the Lambda. But of course, if you're doing it from an Alexa skill, you probably don't even need that.
There's like a template for it all. Just sort of say, nice. I want one of these, please.
Yeah, the AWS docs in general are not that great. Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that the Alexa skill docs are also not that great.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna mess around with that. I thought about making an incredibly simple, like, pick something at random for me skill, which I'm not 100% sure exists in the UK. I haven't found one anyway, because I thought it would be like, we used to have the takeaway spinner. You could spin it and it would pick what takeaway you have.
Yeah,
it's like, totally. What if I could make a customizable one of those for Alexa and just be like, pick for me a takeaway.
Well, you could, with a Lambda, you could like pick a takeaway and then order a Domino's, I guess. Certainly far out.
You can pick a takeaway, tell you what you chose, and then order a Domino's, regardless of what the answer was.
Order whichever one it was. Yeah.
I don't want to go that far just yet. I don't want to go that far just yet. Like, I'm only learning this stuff. But
that'd be crazy, though, wouldn't it?
That'd be quite funny.
Yeah.
But then you also battle against some of the other stuff where, like, oh, there's this thing that exists that you can do, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, can I do that too? Nope, only available to select partners. Okay, great. What about this thing? Can I do this as well? Nope, only available in the US. Fantastic. And it's like, so it's got problems.
I want my hue lights to flash when my delivery driver is coming down the road. I don't know, something stupid like that. Well, that's amazing. I mean, you've got tons of stuff to look at there, I suppose.
Yeah, it was just little things. So, like, I messed around with if this, then that, and then found it to be a little too simple. Like,
it is quite simple, yeah.
You can't put conditionals on it and things like that, which would be a bit of a bugger. So then I started messing around with Stringify, which actually do some of this stuff. Okay, basically what I wanted to achieve was something incredibly simple. What I'd be able to just shout at the thing. You know how you can set an alarm with it? To say, set an alarm at this time. But actually, instead of that alarm being an alarm, I want it to be a specific command that it runs at a specific time. So say I tell it wake up at 9. What I want it to do is not set an alarm for 9. I want it to run a series of commands at 9. One of them might be an alarm, that's fine. But, like, I want to do other things. Like, actually, okay, if I say 9, maybe trigger the light fade in we talked about last week at 8:30. Something like that. Do something smart and be like, oh, okay, no. If you say this time, then actually trigger something for this time, or just rig something up like that. And I did sort of find a route to do it without code, but it's a mess. So I had to set up. So Stringify lets you set up like workflows effectively, and it does have some variable features in it. So what I ended up doing was creating a workflow that's always running every 15 minutes and adds 1 to a counter. And if the time is midnight, reset that counter to 0. So effectively, I've got a 15 minute.
Okay.
I've got a granularity of 15 minutes on this timer. And then I had to make another flow that was called wake up at 7, say, that could be triggered by the Alexa function wake up at 7. That would then set another variable to that time using that, in the equivalent representation of that counter. And then I'd have a third flow that would then be comparing the current counter to the trigger counter I had set. And when those two matched, it would go do a thing and then turn the trigger off so it didn't repeat all the time.
Yeah.
Great. Except for one problem. And that was that second flow where I had to specifically set up a flow that was called Wake Up at 7. Because now I have to set up like a billion flows to be like, wake up at 7, wake up at 8, wake up at 7:30, wake up at 9.
Oh yeah, you have to do one.
And it's like I can, and that's way simpler than like writing the whole flow every time for all of them, but still not quite there, right? It's still not quite like
what you want.
You'd think there'd be a way, like not too difficult way to define this stuff. And to be fair, most of it is actually just like limitations on the Alexa side, or limitations on the stringify skill, or limitations on the if this then that skill. There's just no way to feed variables to triggers. But hopefully they'll work on it, because that would be amazing if they did. Also, stringify is great in concept, but their app is kind of bad, and you have to do everything in the app. Like, there's no web interface or anything like that. Anyway, it's fun. But for gaming, there's this thing called HuSync that I don't know if you've messed around with.
I haven't.
It's an official product you can install on your PC from Philips, and it syncs a room to the colours of your screen. A bit like Ambilight.
Oh, I might look at that, because I do have like a Hue light strip behind my monitor, so I have.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah. So
it's pretty cool. It works pretty well.
Does it affect the performance then, or is it just... Or does it work at all times, or just in certain games? Or
well, you turn it on and it reads from the screen, so it can be anything you want.
Yeah, I should download that.
So I've tried it on a few things, and I think it did introduce some stutter in Rocket League.
Right.
But in some other games I'll talk about later, zero problems at all. Just seem to work flawlessly.
What's it called again?
HuSync. Yeah, it's just a Windows app. Just go get it.
Cool.
It's quite has like I don't know what the difference is, but it's got modes for like games versus videos and stuff like that. So I don't know quite what the difference is between those, but yeah, it's a fun thing. It's fun. Like Gnome seems to have got on board with it as well. Like surprise, it was all about sort of making it so we don't have to get up to turn the light off if we've forgotten it, basically.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I said about the light in your bedroom.
Yeah, exactly that. But isn't it now got to the point where it's like, oh, the lights we haven't done, it's kind of annoying that they're not done. Yeah,
and now, slippery slope to automating the entire house, yeah.
Oh, but now if I'm getting them off deal, things are so expensive.
Yeah, and you have to get them on some kind of deal.
Yeah. That's why I was looking at the Ring doorbell thing seems kind of cool. Like
is that part of it? Or is that a different thing?
It's a different thing, but like you can get one of those Ring doorbells that has like a camera in it. So when someone rings your bell, instead of it just ringing the chime, it's like a video feed pops up on your phone.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
To be like, and like you can sync that to if this then that as well, to be like, oh, trigger a light flash. So if I for some reason don't hear someone at the door, I have a visual representation as well.
And you could probably take that video feed and do facial recognition and go, oh, it's my mum.
Yeah, feed that into the Facebook Face ID program, find out exactly who this is.
Yeah.
And then make a post online saying, this person has just come to my house. I've checked them in without them knowing. Ha.
Yeah, check them in automatically on Foursquare. See who becomes the mayor of your house.
I've ruined everybody's privacy. There is no privacy at my place.
Not if you make the mistake of ringing the doorbell.
No. As soon as you press that doorbell, you're consented to a terms and conditions page that I've hidden somewhere on the internet. You're legally bound to be mine.
You looking for any home automation, Zeg? What would you want? Like a kettle that you could turn on from upstairs, I guess.
Totally. It'd totally be just shout downstairs
that
to turn the kettle on. That doesn't actually work because you still have to put water in it.
Yeah, well, you have to pick up something else.
You can fully automate that process as well, then you might be getting somewhere.
If you ended up with one of those crappy kettles that takes forever, you could at least have a notification to tell you when it's done.
That's not long enough for me to care that much, really. Especially when I have to go up and downstairs.
Yeah,
like,
true.
it's not enough time to walk all the way back upstairs, then you might as well just come straight back down if you're just spoiling it.
But yeah, because when I was reading about like ideas people had for some of this stuff, it's like most of the ideas like center around like appliances and weird kitchen things. And so it's like oh, you attach one of those smart plugs to your coffee machine, and it's like, well, that's not going to work because like who has a plumbed in coffee machine?
Only
and
in
B,
offices, right? But some people,
yeah,
I suppose.
and B, you have to like change the filter in it like every run if it's a grinder, and it's unless you've got like some sort of fancy one that has like automated capsules that it just puts in and I don't think those exist.
You can get metal filters. I don't think they're as good as the paper ones, though.
I mean, there's like there's one built into our grinder, but you still need to empty it out.
Right.
And we put the paper ones in anyway, but.
Oh, I see. You need to get rid of the actual coffee stuff. Yeah. How does that work in the big ones? Like I guess it just goes in a horrible bin at the bottom, doesn't it? I have taken those out. Yeah.
I guess when they're big enough, they just do that, right? They just spit it into a bucket.
A big
somewhere.
hopper, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty grim, but at least you can do it multiple. You can make multiple coffees, well, quite a few without having to empty it.
Yeah, things like that I don't quite get. It's not like I can say, put my Chicago Towns in the oven now, please.
Yeah, there's no actual appliances that you can. There's none of the appliances that you traditionally find in the kitchen could be automated without having to have several appliances automated together. Like having an automated tap to run water into a variety of things.
Yeah.
Having an automated fridge to shove things into other things.
I mean, I looked into some other stuff as well that I thought would be quite neat. Like, 'cause I've got that. There's a Surface, like an unused, like old first gen Surface behind us that we use as a photo frame. And it'd be quite nice just to be able to. So I was looking at it, it's like, oh, there's an Alexa skill that can send like a LAN wake up command, and it's like, well, there sort of is, but you actually need to have some sort of server running that can issue that command. And it's like, oh, okay, so could I run it on my Synology? No, I'd have to write a Synology app to do that. It's like, what other options are there? Oh, I either need a SmartThings hub so that's another hub, or like get a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino board or something and write something myself to do it. And it's like, these things, these little things that should be simple in local networks, and it's like because they all go out to the internet, suddenly not that simple.
Yeah.
It's like you can't have a. Yeah, I guess it's not possible to write a skill, for instance, for Alexa that because that all runs in the cloud.
Yeah, so you can't stay in your house. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you can have a skill that then sends something back to the Alexa to be like, okay, here's a code. Oh no, hello.
Yep.
Wakey.
I don't have an opinion on that.
Good.
Great. She's gonna start.
I think we're done with this section then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Oh dear.
That was good.
Now you'll have to look it up and see what that actually searched.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to see which part of that conversation that actually tried to have an opinion about.
That's pretty great.
Thanks, Alexa.
I mean, there are some surprisingly good stuff about it. I like how, I was a bit worried about how I was going to do audio connectivity with it, thinking because I'd read that you could either plug in a socket into it or pair it with a device, but I didn't. But I thought that pairing would be kind of always on. So, say I'd paired it with the amp and I hadn't got the amp turned on. Where would it be trying to send the audio? But it actually does figure that out. It's like if the amp's turned off, it will play audio from itself. And if the amp's turned on, I can tell it to go to the amp, and it sorts itself out. Better than that, my amp actually has Bluetooth standby, so the Bluetooth is always on. But when something sends it a signal, it turns the amp on. So it's like, oh, that's actually ultra convenient.
Oh, that's awesome. I have that. I have a physical switch on my amp. I have to switch on.
I mean, there's still remote controls for that, so the amount of lays is still quite high. But I want more lays.
Yeah, super lays. Oh, by the way, I updated my Sonos speakers or whatever today, and the app said that it now supports some limited version, or it has some support for AirPlay.
Ooh.
It just so you know, I didn't look into it too hard, but I thought you might be interested in that.
What if that's like AirPlay 2 or something?
Oh, I don't know.
That'd be neat. Well, because like a part of this was thinking like because Amazon are going down this route as well. Like in that there's audio syncing as long as the audio source is a skill of some kind. Then they're sort of doing that sort of audio sync stuff now. We can set audio groups and say send it to all of these at once. So they have an equivalent now. But then I'm sort of thinking like, again, I'd have the audio problem with my old stereo. Would have to be wired in probably to one. Which means I would have to turn it on, and if we accidentally issued a command to it in that room, we wouldn't hear the response unless the stereo was turned on. And it's like, unless I can feed it by some other means. But then I also want AirPlay because I've got TuneBlade on my PC, so I can send audio around the house from my PC if I want. But that's AirPlay, and I doubt there's a way I can send that stuff to Alexa stuff. Sorry, ignore me. Oh, it did.
Yeah, heard the words ignore me and it knew what to do.
Anyway, yeah, it's still like it's the classic like tech problem, right? It's like all this stuff is cool on its own, but as soon as you want to do everything,
right, and pull everything together,
like bits kind of everything just sort of falls apart.
Yeah,
unless you really invest on replacing every bit of kit you have to fit a certain ecosystem. And
I still don't think there's one ecosystem that's like got everything
that does it all.
Yeah.
No, there really isn't. It's like that's the other thing. Like the Google stuff is going down this route as well. And in fairness, Google have some leg ups because of the way they do Chromecast. Right, the ability to just send something to something is a very AirPlay like thing.
True.
So you can send as long as your apps or your devices support it. You can send anything to any cast capable device, and it's like so they're missing the whole like sync everywhere thing at the moment. So it's like that sounds great, but they don't have the sync everywhere thing yet. Yeah. Everything has a problem. Nothing goes all the way.
But it's still fun.
It's hella fun. I like tinkering with this stuff. It's madness. It is madness.
It is madness.
It's like there's no point in any of it.
No, it's madness. It's all you could easily do without all of it, pretty much. I mean, we have done for years.
It's just fun. Sorry, I rambled for far too long, but it's just interesting.
No, it's cool. I got a new phone finally, although I haven't decided because like my company's paying for it.
Nice. And
the contract as well. But now I haven't decided whether to actually transfer my number or to just say sod it and just have a new number.
Oh, I don't know. If it's a work phone, I'd probably keep my old number.
Well, you're not allowed to like do that. They have a whole thing where they don't want you to have a work phone and a personal phone separately. That's why they want you to have
screw them. That's not their decision to make.
No, I suppose not. But I will have to use this one as this work one as my main phone. So I'll have to tell everyone to change the number. But that might be preferable to
maybe depends what sort of policies they put on it, because it's that scary moment when I tried to put I tried to sync an Outlook email account to Google Mail, I think, on my Android phone, and that kicked off a whole policy management thing because it's a Microsoft service and it can do these things and it's enterprise grade and all that. It's like, hey, your company will get all these policies on your phone. Including the ability to just wipe your phone.
Yeah, no.
And it's just like, oh, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah,
no, so I did find a way around it. The Outlook app kind of keeps it separate, but baked in Android account linking starts going crazy for that stuff, and it's just scary. So it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Keep them separate.
So yeah, it started asking me to. With the Apple home automation stuff, the HomeKit or whatever, that managed to recognize the Hue stuff and works with Siri or whatever. So at least I can do that. That seems to actually work quite well. Very basic stuff, but I don't even have to say any specific commands or anything. I don't have to say in HomeKit set the scene to to gaming or something. I could just say set gaming, and that works.
Yeah, they have some stuff because it's like the idea of a scene, for instance, seems to be a native concept to the home products.
Yeah. So you can,
but like doing a specific. But yeah, if it's outside of what those home kits or whatever, or these can
do
smart smart home functionalities. Okay, you know, what if it's outside one of their concepts? It's like you've got to use what do they call them? Invocation names. That's it. You got to ask a thing to do a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So for the basic stuff that I have, it's actually potentially useful. So I'll see how that goes. It's a bit weird. This phone is definitely very snappy. It's an iPhone 10, but it's a bit weird how it's very nice looking.
You're calling it the 10 as well. That's what Apple want you to say.
Yeah, I know, but like
it's definitely an X.
Yeah, but they did that already with the they're doing it on purpose because everyone called OS 10 OS X. And then they renamed it to Mac OS to remove the confusion, so no one called it, had to worry. And then they deliberately introduced the iPhone 10 with a big X on purpose, just to be annoying. So
what happens with, like, are they actually going to make an iPhone 9 next then?
I have no idea.
And then be really confusing. And then
from their history, they don't seem to think ahead at all. Do you remember when the new iPad came out? Yeah.
And it was called the new iPad, like New Super Mario Brothers iPad.
How long was that going to last? Until the next year is the answer. I mean, that's stupid. But I'm sure this is the same. Will there be a 10.2? I mean, that won't work. So, they
10.2.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Lightning returns in 10.3. So
13.3.
13.3. Yeah, sorry.
Actually, they dropped the 3 from that one. They just called it Final Fantasy 13 Lightning
Returns. Okay, fine. But it is slightly weird how it's actually, obviously it's bigger slightly than my old phone, but it's also thicker and heavier, which is quite weird given my old phone is like 4 years old. But they were like...
Well, it's like that first gen, like that first hardware jump problem, right? Isn't it like when I got my iPad 3... which was like, oh, this is the first one with Retina. But also we need a monster battery in here to power this.
Exactly. So it's got that kind of...
So it's quite heavy. Yeah.
But never mind. I'm getting used to it. It's pretty cool. I like all the gestures and stuff. And I really like some of the stuff that was in the previous iPhones that I didn't have. Like the Taptic or whatever. The haptic feedback is really good.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the 3D touch. All that stuff I've never had and it's pretty nice.
3D touch is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Still an iPhone, though.
It is.
Still an iPhone.
Yeah.
I hate that interface. Like, the more I try and use my work phone, the more I just go, this is garbage.
What, just in general? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've had an iPhone for years.
Well, I liked the older interface. It's like, since the actual sort of Johnny Ive redesign or whatever it is, just not a fan. It's like, I should like it, but there's just like, there are certain elements of it where it's just like, oh, their back buttons like are so tiny that they don't work half the time, or... the hit zone for certain buttons just doesn't work anymore. And it's like, or certain old ways of maneuvering about the interface don't work anymore. And it's just not that great. And now I've been spoilt by Android, where you can do anything.
Yeah, you've got the best phone, right? The S9.
It's an 8. It's an 8. It's one. And also, question mark on whether Samsung stuff is the best, but
Yeah,
the Android ecosystem's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Right, we should move on to the news, although there isn't any.
There isn't any news. Yeah. I don't really know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
I can tell you a story of terrible delivery drivers.
It's not news.
No one managed to get a sweet deal on one. Oh no, we've talked about this before. You know your HelloFresh thing, right?
Yeah, it's good. Well, good.
No one managed. Oh, have you given it up?
Well, my flatmate didn't want to carry on doing it in the summer, so I can't. I need to cook for 2 people.
Sure.
It's too much for one.
So we got like a trial deal on a week's worth of what was the Eat Well by Waitrose or something, or Cook Well.
Oh, cool.
Something like that.
Waitrose version.
So I got that for a steal for a 1 week thing.
Nice.
So we'll get that. And then I was like, oh, we're expecting a package like from DPD Thursday. It's like, okay, fine, I'm home all day, no problem. Gets to the end of Thursday and I'm leaving the house to go do something. Like, it's evening time now, and it's like, oh, I guess that parcel didn't arrive. And it's like, open the door, and it's like, there's a big ass box like blocking the door, and it's like, okay, great, good positioning.
Didn't ring the doorbell.
Didn't ring the doorbell. It's like, I've definitely been here. I would have noticed that. Our doorbell's pretty hard to not notice. And it's just, yeah, it's just like, okay, great. And this is a food package on one of the hottest bloody days of the year. So it's been in the sun for like 4 hours. So I'm immediately panicking at this point, going, oh god, there's going to be meat in this box, isn't there? It's all going to be skank. What do? Shove it all in the fridge. Okay, let's just go. Let's do this fast. Get the box into the house, like, to rip it all open, put the things in. So I'm shoving bags in the fridge, and I'm trying to play fridge Tetris at this point, because these bags are quite big.
Yeah, they are quite big.
Oh god,
they come with a bunch of insulation. The HelloFresh ones do anyway.
Yeah.
Ice packs and stuff.
So this was our like the saving grace, actually. The meter was in like a wool pack, they called it, which is like an insulating wool, and some cold water bubbles inside there as well. That had actually kept it surprisingly okay, even in the heat of summer.
Yeah, it does work.
But yeah, I mean, they were warm, but not too warm, if you know what I mean. It was like, wasn't at that bad, so everything's been fine. But yeah, so I'm shoving it in, and then I get to the bottom of the box, and I find an ant infestation. It just like crawled into the bottom of the box from where it had been out on my doorstep all day.
Oh no.
And it's just like, oh god, they're all in my house. So I try and move the box and just chuck it outside at this point. And of course they're all pouring out the bottom of the box at this point. So now I've just got like ants everywhere.
Oh shit.
Why do you have ants on your doorstep?
Because there's like ants right there. Like,
oh yeah, they kept climbing into your house. I remember.
Yeah, they do. We have to keep blocking
holes under your doorstep.
Yeah,
they come in through.
We've managed to block most of them. Like, there hasn't been too much of a problem this year.
Until now.
And the ants smuggled themselves in like a bloody Trojan horse.
Sneaky bastards.
I bet they bugged the delivery guy so he couldn't ring the doorbell. just got ant attacked and was like, oh, sod it, leave it. But it's just like, ugh, the dumbest delivery man ever. Just so frustrating. Because like, it even says like in a massive sticker on the front of the box, it's like, these are food items.
Yeah.
Like, they must be delivered to a person. Yeah. If you can't, please call the depot and we'll sort something out. And there's also like Nomad left alternative instructions to be like, leave it next door. They know it's coming, kind of thing. And it's just, idiot.
It's because
Absolute idiot.
They always contract out all the delivery stuff, so
they do.
It's not like so it's Waitrose delivery.
No, it wasn't. It was DPD this time.
Yeah.
Who we've repeatedly had problems with. But you don't have any control over who's delivering your thing, is it?
No,
it's
you
like
never do.
Buy it from a place and they obviously contract out someone.
It's so like when you see Yodel on there, you're like, sigh.
Yeah, you're like, oh boy, have they thrown it over the fence again? Admittedly, that hasn't happened to me, but I've heard plenty of stories from people I know of like Yodel drivers just chucking it.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
No, they don't. Amazon delivery guys, though, even though that's like a weird homegrown thing, isn't it? Amazon, like a bit like Uber deliveries, I guess, or something like that. It's like, yeah, not had a problem with them. Always good. I guess there's some requirement to be good, I guess. Otherwise, Amazon just won't give them to you because you're one person. I don't know. Don't know how that stuff works. Or like, there is like Amazon logistics now as well, isn't there? But
that's true.
Anyway, I'm done with my story.
Did you cook the food?
It was just a pain. We've had 2 of them so far, and they've been I'd say middling to good. I wouldn't say they've blown my mind. They've been quite frugal on the meat side, but maybe that's just because we eat a lot of meat. But there was a sort of like pastery, like almost Spanishy sort of tomato and olive-y sort of thing with meatballs. That was quite nice. That was definitely the highlight. But the other thing we had, which was kind of a noodle dish, I don't know if you've had it before. It's like a, 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 sort of teriyaki noodle dish sort of thing, and like again, quite a lot of ingredients in it, but like they ended up coming out relatively bland, and it's just like, well, there's not a great deal of flavour here. So you get quite a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's the video game news for this week.
Yeah.
Unless Zach, you've got some.
No.
Okay. I guess it's time for what you've been playing.
Go on, Enzegel.
Well, first we need to have the return of what I haven't been playing, the classic segment.
I still think we need a theme tune for this. That happens every week now.
Why haven't you been playing, Zach?
I haven't been playing, even though I kind of wanted to. The re-release of Red Faction Guerrilla. Remastered.
Oh, yeah. Is it just called Remastered, or has it got a funny name?
Well, that is the funny name.
Because it's...
Yeah, because it says Mars in it.
Mastered. Okay, go ahead.
Oh dear, that's terrible.
But I haven't been playing that because I went and looked, and then apparently it still needs like 1 or 2 more patches to fix the new release of it.
Oh. So is this like a separate package?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like it replaces old school one if you want to run that.
No. And annoyingly, because the old school one used to be Games for Windows, I don't have achievements in both of them. Because the original achievements I got for playing the first game were in Games for Windows.
Yeah.
Not in Steam.
True. So if you played it again, you'd get all your Steam achievements.
Yeah.
You have to earn them again.
I could play that game twice more and get another whole 2 sets of achievements. But I don't think I'm gonna play it once more, maybe.
We just want to see something blow up real nice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it sounds like it still might need a couple of patches to fix a few things.
Well, do you know what's wrong with it? Or
Well, just a lot of people have been talking about weird, like, performance problems, which shouldn't really be happening for a game that old.
No. I do wonder something. Well, you might argue that engine was somewhat unique, I guess.
Well, yes.
Like, and whether or not they, when they try and port it to a modern graphics engine, which is probably how they've done it, that it just sort of fell apart at the seams a little bit.
Because it does sound like there were some things that were not just, like, strictly performance problems. Like, there's somehow just during the process they'd screwed up some other things. Like, NPCs will randomly jump out of your car as you're driving along for no apparent reason.
Okay, great.
But apparently that's been fixed, maybe. So yeah, maybe I'll play that eventually. I think it's 1 or 2 more patches.
That'd be interesting to see what they've done to it.
And then another thing I haven't been playing but will be playing soon, theoretically, is apparently the multiplayer patch for Stardew Valley finally comes out on August the 1st.
Ooh.
Finally. Supposedly. I haven't actually seen the official announcement, but that's what I heard from someone.
Nice.
So that'll be nice. It's been in beta for like most of this month, I think. That specific patch. So it must be very close to me being done, even if it's not August the 1st.
Alright. I'll believe it.
So I might end up playing that if the person I'd be playing it with is in a country that's not incredibly boiling hot. Because that's basically what happened to Minecraft. We were playing Minecraft, and then everyone stopped playing Minecraft because it was too hot to play Minecraft.
How is it too hot to play Minecraft? You just put a fan next to your face.
So not sufficient. Like, I didn't want to play Minecraft because it was that hot. Mainly because of the way it's a hassle for me, and it's just like being hot doesn't make hassles any less hassling. It makes hassles more hassling.
Sure.
More hassling. Less hassling and more hassling.
Yeah. So I think Minecraft kind of fell off fairly quickly. I don't know if people are still playing. I guess they might be. At least one of them. I think one of them is in a place where it's not as warm. So there's that. And then things that I have been playing, I guess we can briefly mention the patch for Enter the Gungeon.
Yeah, we should.
We made 2 videos, I guess.
Yeah, we've got a buffer zone. So if we don't think of anything interesting...
Well, one of them needs to go up fairly promptly.
Oh, next week.
Yes.
Next week.
Because it's important to be prompt in your YouTube uploads to relevant things that are happening.
Content updates.
In the gaming world. Don't delay. Try and steal those views while you can.
Well, I mean, it's ready to go now, but, it's the cadence of our show. It's podcast week and video week.
Well, yes. It's fine. Like, it should have gone up last week immediately after we recorded it, theoretically, but that'd be too fast.
That's true. I should just put it up. You're right.
But yeah, we played a couple of runs of that, and I played like one run by myself later, and, it's still pretty much that game with more stuff in it. And, new, slightly confusing secrets to try and work out what the fuck's going on.
Some new things. We discovered a couple of the new things in our run.
Well, we didn't really discover them. We discovered the start of them, and then we're like, well, what's this for?
How do we, what do we even do here?
I didn't, this is talking about what you're going to see in our video, but I did eventually work out the mystery of the saving hearts for later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it turns out that they don't just appear at the elevator at the end of the dungeon, they also appear in the shop.
Oh, cool. So you can go to the shop, it's just like, and so you know where they're all going to be rather than have you traipse around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes it a lot more useful than what it seems.
Way more sense.
Yeah. So in the sort of some background, in most roguelikes, if you find a heart or some health that you can't pick up, normally it's a good idea to just leave it. Or sometimes you can't pick it up.
It's
just leave it there. But it leaves it in the room, so you don't have to backtrack when you need it.
It's slightly weird in Gungeon because hearts will stay, but everything else you leave behind disappears. Like if you leave an ammo drop behind, that disappears. Well, I guess keys also stay, but like ammo specifically doesn't stay. And if you drop items or weapons on the ground, those don't stay. But hearts do. But going around and to collect extra hearts because you've taken damage and you need to go back and get the health. It's just slightly inconvenient, so now they've made it so if you're at full health, you just shove them into a bank that puts them all in one place. Yeah. Basically.
It's a very roguelike-y thing to do that, but at least they've made that quality of life-y a little better.
But I mean, that is just like, there's several other quality of life things that have been added, like now there's teleporters in the chest rooms, which is helpful, and the teleporter after the boss room instead of just before. But makes moving around quicker. And then supposedly there's been some balance changes to make it so that the start of the game is slightly less, restrictive. I don't know.
I think it's a bit more, they said it was a bit more generous with loot drops.
Well, supposedly. I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, to my mind, what that would mean is maybe there's just slightly more guns that can spawn, because I feel like over all the runs that I've done, I feel like I've seen a lot of the same things in the early levels. So maybe if you just increase that pool slightly.
That would make sense. Or maybe it's less likely to just be nothings.
Yeah, maybe.
Just junks or cursed or something like that.
Or maybe it gives slightly higher precedent to guns in the early chests instead of items.
Possibly.
Because that is also another thing that can be kind of annoying. If you just want a gun, so you can start being not completely useless. But that's why I play as the hunter anyway, because then you have the crossbow.
Which isn't that useless. It's quite powerful.
Yeah, relatively speaking. And I haven't tried it yet, but I also unlocked turbo mode.
Oh, wow.
Turn the speed up!
Jeez.
How you get from the hilariously named NPC. The Sonic the Hedgehog pun.
Oh, what was he? Sonic the Hedgehog or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I've already forgotten. It's Tonic the something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, it was like I want to say it was like a dog.
Tonic the Sledge Dog.
Sledge Dog, that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sledge Dog?
As in like a husky banana or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Or one of those.
Yeah, something like that.
Something along those lines. One of those wintry kind of dogs. But yeah, turn on turbo mode. Just make it even faster. I haven't actually tried that yet. I've also never actually tried beast mode that you can turn on. That's not even unlocked from an NPC. That's just in the menus. You can turn on beast mode. I don't know what that does.
I'll just make everything hard.
Well, you would assume so. There's an achievement for beating beast mode. I don't know if there's an achievement for turbo mode. I haven't looked at the new achievements, I guess.
Beast mode.
But yeah. But, I feel like I need to maybe play that some more in order to try and actually finish it for real. See if I can even just beat it normally without any of this new shit. turn the new shit off and try and beat it, because I never did that, really. That last boss, always... It's not even the last boss that's the problem, it's getting to the last boss. Because then I get to the last boss and I don't have any health left.
Yeah, like a gauntlet room or something.
Well, it's just the last floor, bullet hell. It's just like, it's huge, and it's basically every room, there's always double spawn, so you're always fighting like 2 whole waves of enemies, and it's basically any enemy in the game can spawn, and there's nothing in the whole level apart from the boss. So you're basically hoping that you just happen to have gone the right direction to go through the minimal amount of rooms to get to the boss.
Oh, actually, so there's no point even hanging about exploring.
Not really.
Okay.
So that's where I always get screwed, because I don't think I've ever just, like, coincidentally walked directly to the boss. I've always ended up exploring far too much of that floor and taking way too much damage in the process. I mean, maybe if you get lucky and get one of the items that tells you where the end of the floor is, like the compass or whatever, maybe that would help. And I don't. There's an achievement for getting the master round of every floor in one run, which means like doing every boss with no damage. And at one point, I think I got real close to that. Like when I was playing it quite a lot and was getting better, I think I got like 4 out of 5 on one run. And it was just like, wow, that went really well. And in the video, we got that ridiculous rocket launcher thing where it just decimated at least the first few floors bosses.
Yeah. Just went for real fast.
And it's like, yeah, that could have happened, but that achievement is one of those really annoying ones where it's just like you really have to be practiced. It's the same thing I was talking about with Zelda, like the Master Sword thing, where it's like, if I stop playing and the skills start degrading, I'm never going to be able to do it. It's the same thing with Gungeon. If you stop for too long, you're just like, oh, now I have to actually get better at all these patterns again.
Well, it's like I was saying, it's not like I've played it a great deal, but like, as I mentioned in that first video, there is a definite getting your eyes on phase.
Yeah. So
you can sort of see what's going on.
And it's just like...
It's like Geometry Wars, basically. You get your eyes on.
And there's still a couple of bosses in Gungeon where it's just like, I've never really gotten good at them. Mainly because it's just like, you don't... Because it's randomised what boss you're going to get. Some of them you don't necessarily see that often.
Yeah.
Except theoretically, if it's random, you should see them equally often. I just don't feel like I have. Like the Gun Priest, I don't feel like you see that very often.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
And the Mind Flayer, but that's just like, I don't know how you're meant to do that boss, really. There's just that one particularly... Actually, both of those, the Gun Priest and the Mind Flayer, are both, like, quite ridiculous in their bullet spam. Like, I feel like a lot of the other bosses, you can fairly easily get used to those spams.
Bit of Gungeon.
Yep, bit of Gungeon. And then the only other thing is where it was another thing that I was waiting for the patch for, in the same way as Red Faction and Stardew. But then, surprisingly, it actually came out early, the patch for No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
the big multiplayer
multiplayer
patch, I guess.
The next patch.
Except I don't care about multiplayer. So I just turned all that off immediately. It's like, no, I don't really...
You don't actually want to encounter randoms?
Well, there's not really any point. Like, I'd be happy playing multiplayer if I was playing co-op with someone. That's a good addition, but I don't really care about finding other people in the universe. That's just like...
Because they're just going to blow you out of the sky? Is that what you're worried about? Or?
Well, I mean, there did seem to be the implication that there is, like, PvP aspects. Like, people can definitely steal your shit. I was like, I don't see what the advantage of that is. It's the same thing as, like, Sea of Thieves at a certain point, where it's just like... There doesn't seem to be any real reason, and it just encourages people to grief, right?
Yeah.
So I turned that off anyway. So that was like, that wasn't really what I wanted anyway. I wasn't one of the people who cared that much even when it came out that it didn't have actual multiplayer, or any multiplayer at that time. I was just like, that's fine. Just explore this place by myself. But yeah, and then I went into that, and I haven't played it since launch, so I don't know how much of this stuff has been in the other patches. So I'm coming in with maximum new content.
Yes, I suppose you haven't played it since even the base stuff.
No,
out, right? Or the land vehicles.
Apparently, it's changed tons, right? Since the
supposedly.
I mean, it's like third-person modes and.
Well, the third-person mode was very annoying until I worked out how to turn it off.
Oh right, you don't like it? Or...
Well, it's weird. It's like I feel like the camera just doesn't quite sit in the right place compared to the character, and like all the camera shake effects and stuff. And also, as is traditional in this kind of game, your character's animations are weird because I guess it's like procedural. Maybe procedural animations. It reminds me of like what Space Engineers animations look like, particularly with like when you're using your multi-tool weapon or whatever, where it's like you're very rigidly holding the gun out with your one arm, and only that one arm animates when the gun does animations and stuff. Right. It doesn't actually affect the rest of your model in any way. So it felt very strange, and I was like, I'd rather play this in first person. But then I was like, there's no menu option to change it into first person. I can't work out how to do it. But that's because for some reason the option to change your third person to first person is like in the in-game quick menu where you do other things. For some reason, it's not a graphics option or anything. It's actually built into the actual menu inside the game. Weirdly,
strange. You'd think it would just be a button to say change camera or something or other.
Yeah, or that. Just a straight button. But yeah, I eventually worked out to turn it back, and it was like, this is much better, I guess.
So it defaulted to it?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I don't know if you can... I don't know if you can change it to be third person in the spaceship. I don't remember.
Oh, I see, like one way and one the other.
Yeah.
Was it GTA 5 had like, go first person if I'm out of the car, but when I'm driving the car...
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Because I think there's some kind of third person option for the spaceship, but I think it's like it changes to third person when you do the warp sequence, which is like that's a sequence. That's not even. I didn't even realise that could not be third person because I don't remember what it was like in the original.
All right.
I guess it wasn't. I don't actually remember.
I guess it just your cockpit just went. Didn't
well, yeah.
I don't remember it ever going out of cockpit.
Yeah, I don't know. So that I eventually got used to everything.
Oh, excuse me, that went wrong. I tried to muffle my face and just ended up going.
Good job. But yeah, coming back in with all this new stuff, it seems like there's a fairly decent amount of content now, maybe. Because it's kind of weird and like... Well, one of the main things that is definitely different now is now you just have a mission log and what you would say is the main story is just like a straight main story quest mission that you just have a log for, and it tells you what to do and like progresses through it. And also, in the original release, there was kind of this sort of dual main story where you had like the Atlas path where you follow the mysterious ancient artifacts, the red glowing spheres that tell you what to do, and then you had like the anomaly path where you find this weird spaceship that has some aliens on it and they tell you what to do, and they basically tell you to do the same thing, which is like go towards the middle of the galaxy, but you even do it via like the anomaly is more like the natural exploration mode, whereas the Atlas path is more like goes very specifically to the Atlas locations.
Oh, the Atlas is the red orb, isn't it?
Yeah, and collect the red orb things along the way. It was more like the Atlas was more directed like an actual mission, and the anomaly was more like just go and explore until you've got done it. Because the exploration, the anomaly way it progressed and kind of still does progress now to some extent is it's based more on like your milestones. So, like, there's milestones for just, like, travelling and scanning things and talking to aliens. So just progressing any of the milestones would progress you through the anomaly path. So it was more just about exploration rather than go to this specific location. So those still exist, but now it seems like you can maybe do both of them at the same time, and it doesn't really care.
So I was going to ask, like, did the original actually give you make you make a choice then?
Well... It was weird because right at the start of the game in the original, you found one of the red sphere things right next to your crashed ship at the start of the game, and it basically said, do you want to do the Atlas thing or not?
Right.
Except it wasn't really explicit because no one knew what that meant, obviously, and it's also not worded in an obvious way. It was more like, do you want to follow this mysterious force or do you want to explore by yourself? And it's just like, well, what does that even mean?
I mean, that was probably intentionally vague.
Well, yes, exactly. At the time, it was kind of on purpose. But now it's, in that version, even if you chose the Atlas thing right at the start, the anomaly would turn up, and then you could kind of jump onto the anomaly route there, and even then you could talk to one of the aliens in the anomaly and transfer back to the Atlas one by having them tell you where the next Atlas thing was. So you could kind of just jump back and forth between the two storylines even in the original.
Right, but if you were doing the Atlas path, your milestones wouldn't count for anything? Or you just cash them in anyway?
Yeah, I think you could probably just cash them in once you changed back to the anomaly side.
Right, but it just wouldn't be obviously tracked unless you went and visited.
The only thing that was really different about versus in the original versus the anomaly versus Atlas was the Atlas one required you to get the Atlas orbs, and those counted as items, which were essentially taking up your cargo space. So it was inconveniencing you.
Didn't need them all?
You needed... Well, this is one of those things that people found out and were really annoyed about, but basically you needed a certain number of them, but it doesn't tell you that at any point, so people were just selling them for cash because they were quite expensive, and then you get to the end of the game and be like, you need 10 of these orbs and you don't have them because you sold them, so now you have to grind to get enough money to buy them again back off the market for an increased price.
Or could you go find another 10? Or
maybe. I don't know if they continued to spawn after that point. But yeah, that was the big annoyance about the orbs. They were just an item that took up space and were worth a lot of money, so people were selling them without knowing that was going to screw them in the long run.
That's always the thing, though. Mysterious item, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Don't sell it.
Always keep it forever.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the same problem that I've run into now, because with all this new content, they've added a goddamn ton of items, naturally. So you find these ancient alien ruins, and there's one specific kind of ruin where you excavate these chests that have keys, and then you excavate a big chest, and you put the keys in, and you get an item, and it's weird, it's green, the icon is green, and this looks distinct from all the other crap that you're finding. And it's historical documents, or fossilized remains, or mysteriously gene-spliced plant samples. And I don't know whether there's any use to those, because the plant sample specifically says it's ready to be cultivated, and then it tells you it's got 6 spliced genes and it's got this root structure and this, and it's is that actually usable at some point in your base hydroponics thing, or is that just flavor text? I can't tell, because the fossils and stuff don't seem to have any idea of use, but maybe they do. So I keep finding these things, and it's just I don't know whether to keep these or not, but they all don't stack. They all take up a whole cargo slot to themselves. And, of course, they're all worth quite a lot of money. Which was actually one of the things that I discovered quite quickly is still weird about that game, is, the progression is really awkward at best, where it's just, right at the start of the game, basically basic resources are worth basically nothing. They might as well be worth 0 for as much as they are worth.
Basically, basic resources are worth basically 0.
Yeah, basically. It's they might as well be 0 for the amount of money you get. There's no point in selling them. But then now you have all these you can process stuff into slightly more advanced resources, and those even at the start of the game that's slightly worth money. Not it's only you're taking carbon and you're making compressed carbon. You're not making anything fancy, but it slightly improves the money. And the way the game used to work, you'd progress to a certain point where you could survive on the more hostile planets, and then you'd find the very specific type of resource that only spawns on those kind of planets is worth 500,000 units of money, and spaceships were worth 2 to 20 million. It's okay, that's some amount of grinding, but it's not ridiculous.
It's just called units of money, it's not
it's just called units.
Okay.
But now that there's so much additional layers of progress, you just look at a crate and it's I found like tier 3 battery or whatever, or acid, which is like theoretically at some point in the future I'll be able to craft that out of raw resources that I processed and then combine. But I can't right now. But it's still worth like 500,000 by itself, so I can sell that for cash. And then in one of these random ancient ruins where you had to unearth the keys and unearth the chest and look into it, and it gives you one of these green items. One of those that I found on probably the second planet I was exploring was worth 18 million.
Whoa.
I was just like, this seems like it might be useful because it was one of those plant ones, and I was like, this seems like it might be useful in the future, maybe, but 18 million is a fucking lot of cash.
It's like, that's going to keep me going for a long time.
Yeah.
But maybe you found something that is super rare.
Well, yeah, that's the trouble. It's like, I don't know. But the thing is, it can't be that rare because it's randomly generated, right? So even if it is...
Well, I mean, that's a random with a certain chance to spawn, I suppose.
Yeah, but if it is like a gene spliced thing where it's got certain traits, the traits will be randomized, presumably, to create the item. So, like, even if I don't find that exact item ever again, I'll probably be able to find something similar, right? Theoretically?
Maybe.
That's what I would guess. And that's if it is even useful for anything at all, and it's not just stuff to sell.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I suppose it's early days when no one's built the wiki for this stuff, or...
Well, I mean, I could look it up, probably. And
but you don't want it, because
well, yeah, someone would probably say something about it. But yeah, that kind of feels like it kind of messed up my progress, or my progression, where it's just like, I've gone from 0 to buying spaceships immediately. And then it's sort of a similar problem with a lot of the other stuff, where it's just like, when you start building a base, it feels weird because you're like,
You're just going to leave?
I mean, it feels weird anyway, because you're like, okay, I'm building a base, but I still need to travel, because the whole point of the game is travelling, except now you have teleporters to teleport you back to your base, except now there's a teleporter in every station, so you can also just teleport between systems you've visited as well. Which kind of means you're not...
With your ship?
Well, yeah, it just pulls your ship with you for some reason. And so I did that, and I started building the base, and it's like, okay, but now, when I'm building the base, it's like, this is the opposite problem, where it doesn't feel like the progression of the base stuff is fast enough. Where it's just like, it wants me to, build a small room and put a person in it and then talk to this person. And he's like, okay, go get some basic resources. And you're like, well, I'm already carrying those basic resources, so let me just talk to you again and complete that mission. And then that continues for several other of the NPCs you can pull into your base. Keep doing, like, completing missions because you're already carrying all the stuff. And then you get, like, the farmer who's like, go to these different environments of plants and collect the stuff and to grow the specific plants. And that doesn't seem to have any purpose yet. So I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like, I want to grow plants because I should theoretically be able to get resources, right? Except the resources that the plants give you are, like, specific resources, not any of the resources that you actually use for, like, building or anything. It's not like they grow carbon or metal, they grow frost crystals.
Right.
It's just like, that's not actually... I mean, frost crystals are technically used for glass, so that one specifically. But a lot of the other plants are just like, I'm collecting this resource for some reason.
Don't know what.
At some point, maybe I'll learn the recipe to combine it with something else and it'll become useful. Except none of the base stuff so far has used anything apart from basic resources. And it doesn't feel like there's that much more of it, except maybe there is and I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. And then that leads into the third weird problem of the progression, which is that sometimes it's far too liberal and sometimes it's far too strict. And it's like, it's really, like, doesn't mesh together very well at all. Like, when you're walking around on a planet and you're putting stuff in your inventory, you can transfer it to your ship if your ship is relatively close.
Okay.
Or if you've got the teleporter upgrade slightly further away, but not that far.
Okay.
Still have to be pretty much adjacent to be able to teleport stuff into your ship. But then once you get a base, you can build storage containers in your base, and you can just teleport stuff into them from wherever the fuck you are.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because now there's a somewhat in-world difference in tech.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then it gets even worse because
That's just the storage, because the storages are massive or something.
Well, yeah, they have like internal teleporters or something.
Yeah.
So you can, but then it's awkward because you can put stuff into the storage containers from wherever you are, but in order to get stuff out of the storage container, you have to be physically standing in front of the storage container.
Right.
It doesn't look like, because when you're looking at your ship inventory, it's like another tab in your inventory menu. But the storage inventories are like a container. You actually have to walk up to them and open them in order to see what's in them. But you can teleport stuff into them from wherever you are.
Maybe their teleport tech in this world is great at sending, but they just haven't.
And then
But surely they could send if you could see what's in your container, surely you could send a packet to your container to use its teleporter to do a great send back to you.
But then, like, the same...
Unless the tech on you is better than the tech that's in the container. But then you'd be able to send stuff to your ship.
Well, the ship...
None of this makes sense.
The ship teleporter is built into the ship, apparently, because it can get upgraded.
So maybe it's a receiver.
Maybe.
Maybe that's the thing here. So you're not walking around with a decent teleport receiver on you, and your ship's got a crappy teleport receiver.
Maybe.
But this,
Cargo container.
Yeah.
But
Like they're pulls, so they have really good pulls.
It gets even worse, of course, once you get a freighter, which is like a big spaceship that you can put in space.
That's a recent thing, isn't it? Well, that wasn't there originally, right? Freighters.
That wasn't there originally, but it was in one of the previous patches.
Oh, okay.
I think that was maybe the second patch. I don't remember. But you can get a freighter.
You can put in space.
And that has its own storage inventory, and you can teleport stuff into it from wherever you are, much like the storage containers. But that inventory you can see in your tabbed inventory, so you can see what's in it, but you can't take stuff out of that inventory unless you're standing on your freighter.
Right.
But, and this is the even more ridiculous trick, say I'm in my base where my storage containers are, and I can look at my storage containers and get the stuff that I put in there out. But say there's something in my freighter that I want. Well, because the freighter is a tab in my inventory screen, I can go to the freighter tab, transfer stuff from my freighter to the storage inventory, because that's the only one that will let you do it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so your container can... This is still backing up my theory. The
container is better than everything else.
Yeah, the containers have these ridiculous pull teleporters built in them, and can pull stuff from anywhere.
Yeah.
But your ships and stuff and yourself have personally crap, like, teleporters on board.
But it's just like this whole massive inconvenience. Like, I can literally bring my freighter to directly above my base, just in space above my base. It's like, that's as close as it can possibly be, and yet I can't access anything on it without shifting it through the storage container that's in my base.
That is so strange. It's like your storage containers are like the ultimate space relay.
Yeah, but so inconvenient.
They should just leave them in space, and everyone could just get...
teleport through them.
But then you can teleport the planets anyway.
Yes.
That's probably how they do it.
Yeah.
There's like a relay of storage containers just floating in space.
But then, like... So that's really inconvenient. And mainly, the most inconvenient thing about it is the fact that you can't see what's in a storage container without opening it. Especially because each storage container only has like 5 slots, and I've built 10 of them. So, like, which one of these storage containers did that just teleport into? Because you can't control which one it goes to. It just goes to a free slot.
But so can you only what if you put storage containers on multiple planets?
Then they access the same inventory.
Oh, so they all...
So each numbered storage container accesses that inventory.
Number. Okay, so you could put a number 1 on one planet and it has exactly the same stuff on number 1 in the...
So, I mean, that's helpful, I guess.
Yeah.
But still inconvenient because it's a container that you have to open and look at in a separate screen. So there's that. And then the same sort of weird, like, convenience/inconvenience crossover applies to, like, ships. So when you have your ship and you go through a teleporter, the ship that you are currently flying just appears wherever you come out, which is convenient. And wherever you are on a planet, you can just call up a menu and be like, I want my ship to land here, and it just comes.
Nice.
Which is helpful. But kind of like, that was one of the things that I think wasn't like that in the original version of the game. Because now it's like too convenient. Because like when you're walking around on a planet which is like dangerous, has a hazardous environment, and your hazard suit is running out of power,
no, you could be like,
you can just bring your ship and then just jump in. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, that makes it kind of too easy.
Hazard isn't so bad. Well, does that mean that you can just get in your ship and then refill your hazard?
Yeah, exactly.
And then be like, right, I'm back out
and
again.
then just jump out again. And then just use your ship as a leapfrog wherever you go.
So the hazards aren't actually all that hazardous.
No.
Now.
No, exactly. And then, but like, your ships have launch thruster fuel, which is what lets you take off. And I'm not entirely sure that it always consumes launch thruster fuel to call your ship to you. Because otherwise you could potentially get it stuck, I guess, without fuel. And not be able to call it back to you.
Yeah.
And the same applies for when I call, like, if you call your freighter to a position in space, it doesn't seem to use its hyperdrive fuel if you're jumping between systems. And it's like, that's convenient, but like too convenient.
Yeah, it's a little weird. That would at least have made, yeah, you're right, the launch fuel would have at least have made the sort of hopping of your own ship
cost something.
Yeah. There's a
but the trouble is, I think sometimes it does. Like, I think if you're close by, it uses launch fuel.
Well, if you can see it.
Yeah, like if you can see it.
So it can calculate how much fuel it was going to use.
Well, it always uses the same amount, but I don't know, it's just like weird. And then that leads into like the main problem still with this game, is it's real buggy.
Yeah, really.
There's so many things that just go wrong and go weird.
Like, more than there were?
Oh, well, it's hard to say if it's more than there were. I think there's just like, because there's so much more content, there's just more opportunities for it to go wrong. Because, I've had things where it's like, I can't access this item in this container because this one specific container slot won't let me click it for no apparent reason.
Right.
Or it won't put stuff into my inventory because it thinks those slots are full, but they aren't. And I've had stuff where, like, items have randomly cloned themselves. I put down a portable refiner, and then another one just appeared in my inventory, and I was like, what? How did that happen? And then, like, there's things where, like, things should be consumed but aren't. Like, if you use a scanner to search for drop pods, you have two different kinds of navigational data. There's, like, generic navigational data that you can use to find locations on a planet. And there's drop pod data that you can use to find drop pods. Navigational data gets consumed when you use it. Drop pod data, I'm sure is meant to get consumed when you use it, but it doesn't.
Right.
For no apparent reason.
So you can just find as many as you want.
So you can just use one bit over and over.
Like, well, one bit of drop pod data is the data for every drop pod that has ever existed ever.
I mean, that's what I thought might have been the case, but it's not. It's like the menu specifically says, like, insert one navigational data, insert one drop pod data. It's like, it's implying that it's meant to be used up, but it's not. And then, there's all these other awkward glitches and bugs and things not opening and random menus appearing when it's trying to do a transition instead.
I saw a video of a sort of buffalo-like creature walking on its face.
The creature animations have been improved
90 degrees the wrong way. That was kind of funny.
The creature animations have actually been improved somewhat. They all still look the same. You go to different planets and see basically exactly the same models, but they at least animate slightly better now. And they behave better, like they herd and stuff. It's slightly cooler. And I think generally just the planets in general look nicer. Like I don't know if it's...
Has it still got the weird fuzzy pop-in?
I don't know.
If they cleaned that up.
I don't know if it's... Well, they said the draw distance has been improved, but I don't know if I've noticed it as much. You can still sometimes see it when you're coming in from space, where you can see the squares of landscape are starting to appear because it hasn't actually finished drawing the draw distance.
Yeah.
But
some of
that's acceptable.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I didn't like the dither fade because it seemed like super everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that as much. I have seen a couple of times on terrain where it's happened, where you can see the terrain polygons don't line up and there's just a hole, and then as you get closer, it's like, oh, that just disappears.
Yeah.
And I still managed to clip through the floor of my freighter and fall into space one time. That still hasn't been fixed. Because that happened to me several times on space stations in the original. But
I remember seeing that quite a few times on planets as well, like in videos. And people just falling through the Earth.
Yeah, I haven't done that on a planet yet. And actually, the only time I did that in the original release was when I found a actual terrain generation error where there was a hole. I was like, I could just jump into that, and then I did just to see what would happen.
The endless death.
Well, actually, there was just a water plane, so I was kind of screwed because there was just water down there.
That's what happens in Assassin's Creed if you fall through the Earth. You eventually hit a water plane and can swim under the world.
Yeah. So yeah, it's still got quite a lot of bugs and problems. Things that you hope get fixed when you restart.
How much of Sean Murray's original promise has now been met? Because it sounds like quite a lot, in fairness.
Quite a lot.
Other than, like, perhaps some of the social aspects and, like, is the game funny? Well, not for the reasons you want it to be. Like...
Yeah, I don't know if it's that funny. So only funny for bugs, I guess.
I did see, like, a pretty great... Like, Sean Murray is clearly well aware of, like, the backlash he's
well, yes, he would have been from the start.
But, like, so there was a PC Gamer article apparently saying basically hyping up this patch, being like, oh, this is going to turn it into the game we actually wanted it. And then he just retweeted saying, oh no. I think he's aware that it's like, don't hype me.
No, yeah, exactly. Shouldn't have even done that interview. don't initiate any amount of hype.
As I say, I don't think he did. I think the PC Gamer was just like, here's what's coming.
But yeah, that's, it just, the balance of it just feels so weird. That's the main thing I've been having problems with. And also, they rebalanced, like, all the equipment. And it seems like there's way less, like, choices in the equipment. Maybe, judging by what sort of things I've got so far. Which in some ways is sort of good, because then it's not so much of a... Because you remember how it used to be, like, you grinded to upgrade your ship and your multi-tool just to get more slots, so you could fit more of the equipment into the equipment grid.
Yeah.
So the fact that there seems to be much fewer different parts of equipment that you can actually equip now is maybe an improvement, I guess, because there's not so much of a grind on that front.
You don't need so much of it.
But it also seems like a weird simplification. So you're like, I remember this being way more... sort of interesting, I guess. And that's another weird bug that I found with the base building, where every mission that I completed on the base, they kept giving me the same item over and over, like this one suit upgrade, this one B tier suit upgrade.
Oh, strange.
And I was like, this can't be what it's... But then I thought maybe it was because I wasn't installing them, because I didn't have any fucking upgrade slots left.
Oh, right, so I thought you always needed it.
Yeah, so I was thinking, oh, you need that again, because you don't have it. But that still would suck if that was the case.
Sounds exactly like what that would be.
Because I even tried storing one, because I was like, I can save this for later, but then it still gave me it again. I wish it had just given me the blueprint, because it could have done that, because you could get the blueprints for the technology rather than having them as built items that you can just install one time. If it gave you the technology blueprint, that would have been better. And there were several quests that broke, and there's missing text all over the place still. Like, a lot of the NPCs on planets, if you find an NPC on a planet that's trying to give you a mission, the text box that's meant to have the text not about the mission, because that's separate. The text box that's meant to be the alien saying, hey, or whatever, is just like a generic string pointer that's trying to point to some other text somewhere, probably.
Like percent alien text underscore.
Yeah, pretty much.
1.
It's like, well, that's... I think that should have been fixed, really. It's kind of an obvious one.
Missing resource. What game was it where if it didn't... Was it... Oh, it might have been TF2, or like that version of Source Engine where if it couldn't load a resource, it just put a giant polygonal word fail or something.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been several of those, like exclamation marks and fail and all those weird things that have a model for no particular reason.
Fail's such a good one.
So yeah, I mean... I guess I've nearly played it for as long as I have on my original save, and I've got nowhere near as far because I've been focused on my base and like the very local area and not actually progressing.
Do you think you're having a better time?
I guess.
Okay.
It's more interesting, I suppose.
Alright then, that's a positive.
Well, but the trouble with it is that, like, I don't know where it's going, and that's where I feel like the base building is kind of, like, it doesn't seem like it's going somewhere, except it should be.
So you reckon your enthusiasm's dropping because you're not sure you see the point, or what's the end game? Or...
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's just that because I haven't progressed, I haven't unlocked, like, the ability to see what's coming. Because I feel like when you go through the space station and you look at their, like, technology vendor, all of the space stations I've been to so far sell the same set of things, and then you buy them all, and that's that. And I'm like, okay, so clearly when I go to the more dangerous star systems, different stuff's going to be in that list, right?
Okay.
Probably. And maybe that was also apply to, like, progressing through the base building aspect, because I've finished all the missions I can do for, like, the overseer and the scientist, and they're like, oh, if you come back later, I'll have more stuff to do, maybe. I'm like, when I jump to one of these harder systems, is that suddenly going to trigger more stuff to happen? Maybe. I don't know. I should probably do that and actually find out. But I've been spending too much time doing all these other things up to this point that don't seem balanced to the progression rate, even at this point. So if there is going to be a big jump, it's going to be a big jump.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But in general, slightly better.
It's better.
You still have your suit telling you that shit is running out all the time. But that's what the quick menu's for, luckily. Now that they implemented that, you just have a button where you just bring up a menu and you hit a button in there that says recharge, and then you select the thing that needs to recharge, and you select the resource you want to go in there. You don't have to open your actual inventory and like have a whole different screen come up. And you can do it while moving if you're pushing the right buttons, I guess.
Oh, nice.
So you just quickly toggle through that quick menu and recharge stuff that way.
For some reason, when you said quick menu, a bit in my head was just like, oh, but your suit's constantly telling you to recharge, but that's why you have the quit button. Just leave the game.
Yeah. So yeah, generally more nice to play, I suppose.
More.
Slightly less inconvenient, slightly more content. Well, quite a lot more content. But slightly less inconvenient is the more important thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, good on them for keeping up with it, really, and not abandoning it. Wonder how many more sales what their trickle rate is. Like, is this paying off for them?
The fact that after this patch, the Steam reviews have suddenly gone back up to like mixed. They've actually benefited in terms of like percentages.
Interesting.
That might encourage more people to buy it, maybe.
Well done then.
Yeah. And that's the overall reviews. I bet probably the recent reviews might even be positive.
Oh, yeah, if that's the effect it's had, yeah. Interesting. Got anything else?
No, I think that's probably it. There's, small amounts of Factorio and stuff, but then No Man's Sky took over, I guess. Oh, and I played more Fallout Shelter,
Sure.
Just once a day, check in.
Just
how's that going?
Out.
It's going all right. I completely laid out the entire base, basically demolished everything and rebuilt it, because it has this stupid thing where monsters like mole rats and rad roaches and rad scorpions and stuff that can invade your base, they come into rooms that are touching dirt. But I realised...
So isn't every room touching dirt?
Well,
they're underground.
If they're surrounded, I suppose.
You'd think so, but then what I realised was that the width of the building space is specifically designed to have like a certain number of rooms, and essentially it leaves exactly 2/3 of a room width, which is basically an elevator on each side. One elevator is a third of a room width. So it exactly leaves 2/3 to have space for elevators. And at the start of the game, it creates an elevator that basically goes down the middle of the map. But I realised that because the elevators don't count as rooms, if I build the elevators on the exact edge of the map, it protects the inside of the inside rooms from being attacked.
Oh, right.
Nice.
So you just build elevators around everything.
So you have to
build
demolish
elevators along the edges.
You have to demolish the elevator they give you, right?
Yeah, but you have to demolish practically everything you've built up to that point to rearrange everything so you can have the elevators only on the edges of the map.
Well, couldn't you just put more elevators in the middle?
Yeah, but you're wasting your space because you'd have to demolish the original. It's awkward because you can't have things that are disconnected, of course, because it still needs to path. So you have to like delete things in a certain order and rebuild parts to create temporary bridges and stuff.
Nice.
But I did eventually do it, and it was like, this is going to work real good, because then I can just have, at the bottom of the map, the one room that is exposed to dirt. I can put people in there who have guns.
Right, the one choke point for all of the baddies.
I was like, that will work real good, but, it
break the game, obviously.
It doesn't actually matter that much, because there's also the attacks that come in through the front door, which I was already preparing for by specifically the same thing, basically. Rooms there with people with guns. Basically, you want populated rooms, because there's a lot of rooms that don't have people in a lot of the time. So it's just like, you don't want to have those exposed, because then the enemies will just wander around and steal your resources, because that's what enemies do, I guess. But yeah, and then I also did a very Vault Tech kind of thing, I guess, and trained child soldiers. Because Vault Tech does good shit. Because I realised that, because of the stat system in Fallout, the special stats, endurance affects how much health points you get when you level up. So I was like, So what I'll do is I'll breed children who start at level 1, immediately put them into endurance training until they reach maximum endurance, and then they'll be as strong as possible.
Nice. So you're really exercising these babies.
Yep.
This is like Pokemon breeding, basically, for children.
And it works pretty goddamn well. It took a long time, though, of course, because firstly, leveling them up to maximum on any stat is just like, that's a couple of, or 2 or 3 days, I guess. But then they're still level 1 at that point, so then you probably have to send them out into the wasteland to gain some experience. And then they actually level up, and then they're like, oh, now I can send them on to the actual missions that I wanted them for in the first place. But once they get there, they're pretty decent. I mean, really, the health is only... it is only health. The stats don't affect, like, combat. Well, kind of. Agility affects how fast you fire. Perception affects how fast the cursor moves on the criticals, and luck affects how often criticals happen. So those are the ones that you also want to train up. But I did that, so I was like, I'm building the ultimate fighting force. But then really all it comes down to is what weapons they have. So then you're still sending people out into the wasteland to scavenge for weapons, and then eventually building a factory to build your own weapons. But then you need junk that you also get from the wasteland, so you're still sending people out all the time, coming in and out. It does have a kind of another classic balance problem of you send people out into the wasteland to get stuff, and you give them like med kits so they can survive longer, and obviously the type of weapon they have allows them to go further as well, because otherwise they can't kill things. But you can just basically just let them die, because if you don't tell them to come back, they keep going until they run out of medkits, and then they run out of health, and then they die. And you can resurrect them for money, like not even the premium currency, just like regular money. And the cost of that is so insignificant, it basically doesn't matter. So you might as well not even bother to pay attention. Just send them out until they die, and then just be like, oh, resurrect, and now come back. Because it's such an insignificant cost.
Weird.
And I've still never had someone come back from their inventory being full. Like I said that one time, last time. It's like, that's never happened. They seem to have a ridiculous amount of space. So yeah, that still continuing. I think I'm reaching sort of the end game. I'm reaching the last 2 or 3 room unlocks, which are like the advanced versions of the basic production rooms. So once I replace those, I'll be making so much resources. It'll be pretty easy to continue doing what I've been doing, I guess.
Nothing left to do.
Yeah. Just finish the quests, I suppose.
Odds are a finite number.
It seems like it. I mean, there are daily quests and like weekly quests that are clearly generated from a set template or whatever, but there is the main quest lines that are numbered or whatever. So I'll get through those, I guess. And that's it. Rob, what have you been playing? Because I know one of the things you've been playing.
Oh, I've been playing all kinds of stuff. Having an interesting week. Let's pick up from where I left off last time, though.
No.
Just get the crappers out of the way.
Well, yeah, okay.
Actually, crappers. I promised I was going to go do a bit of Halo Wars 2 multiplayer stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or like see what the skirmishes is like. The skirmishes,
as in with AI, right?
Yeah. I didn't actually go online. I didn't want to get it destroyed. So yeah, I experimented a little bit with that, and it seems fine. Like, there's a certain extra manicness to it, I think. Like, it feels like there's more I have to keep on top of, interestingly. Like, despite the fact, like I said, like, they'd streamlined it a little bit, like, for the campaign and stuff like that. As soon as I got into multiplayer, things felt a lot more manic. There, I had a tendency to launch attacks quicker than I would, while I'd focus on economy, as I always do, and try and get my production up and running. It's like they'd launch a quick attack on me and be like, oh, bugger, I'm underprepared for this, how do I deal with it? Let's spend some of my money to call in leader powers to deal with it. That's how. Like, call in stuff from the sky. Yeah, but it just seems like there's such a focus on like getting loads and loads of little bases up and running real fast. Get your money churn out as quickly as you can, and then the game is won and lost basically on that. But it does mean there's like things can happen I mean, in a good way, I suppose that means things can happen in more places on the map, and that does mean you're always going to be stretched thin somewhere.
Your attention, right? Because you've got so many outposts.
Yeah, but so it means like if the enemy's launching an attack and it's like it tends to be somewhere where you're not, and it's like, oh crap, it's going to take a while for me to move my army over there because I haven't planned this very well. It's like, what do I do? Okay, I could send my air forces in first because they'll get there quick and see what they have. And it's like, and then that worked. It was quite interesting actually because like in the first game I played, it's like that actually worked really well. The first couple of attacks the enemy threw against me, it's like, oh no, so no worries, I'll just throw my air forces against them and they'll be mostly okay. Against their vehicles, and it's like that's how it's supposed to work. But then they wised up to it real fast, and then it's like so the next attack they launched, they had smeg tons of anti-air.
Nice,
and it's like, oh god damn, now I'm boned. And that did not go so well for me. But I have ended up winning. I'm only playing against normal difficulty stuff, but it seems to be posing just like normal level seems to pose just that sort of nice level of challenge where I don't feel like I'm winning easily. But I haven't lost a game. Like, so I haven't lost a game yet, but it does feel like it's like I'm on the edge. Good. There are moments where I've been on the edge. Like I played the capture point mode, and the only reason I won that is the enemy actually had the upper hand. Their economy was better, they were producing better units, and I was getting wiped out most conflicts. However, they didn't seem that smart at actually capturing the points. So I got a very early run where I basically ran one guy and captured all the points real fast at the start of the map, and they left them alone for ages. So I had such a huge lead that by the time the enemy had basically got the upper hand and was starting to capture the points back, all I really need to do is to hold on to one of them, and I would eventually win through attrition. Just so it's like, yeah, it didn't seem too smart in that front, but I don't know. I've had an okay time. I've played as the Covenant now as well, or the Banished as they are here, not the Covenant. And unlike the first Halo Wars, I don't think it's as varied this time round. Like, I don't think the way they play is quite so different from how the game first played. Like, there's there's basically like the classic like ARM and core sort of like flip sides to everything from TA. Really, there's always an equivalent unit in the other side. There are some differences, but they're not as pronounced as they were in the first game. I don't think. Like, I don't know, your artillery is flying with the Covenant, and you have to set it down in order for it to become artillery. Whereas the Kodiak is a land vehicle, and the UNSC everything's like sort of subtle like that. And there are some differences, like suicide grunts. You can buy suicide grunts and just charge them into stuff.
Sweet.
Which can be pretty effective.
What, with like
use them as like a
type thing?
Yeah. Well, it's a little different. They've got like big glowy backpacks. So it's like I guess the implication is that they have more of an effect on vehicles.
Right, okay.
So they're like advanced suicide grunts, I guess. So you can build like a swarm of those and do quite a lot of damage. But, you're always going to lose that fight because that's what those units are always going to lose. That's the point of them. Yeah, so I don't know. It's been fine, but weirdly I think it's just like less of a draw than the multiplayer from the first one for me, just because it doesn't feel quite so varied. It doesn't feel quite so, and also like I'm hitting my normal problem with RTSs where it's like this manic feel. It's just a bit too much for me to keep hold of and for me to manage the systems to actually do what I think you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, I need to select these units to tackle this thing. I need to pull these specific units out or push these ones in. Like, the systems are all there to do it, but I'm just not good at managing that stuff.
Just kind of constantly on the not on top of anything. Yeah.
Yeah, what do they call it? They call the like actions per second or whatever in RTS speak. It's like it's just not good enough. I'm not mentally capable of that. In quite the same way. It's like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like even how you'd do it. If you get into a fight like that fight where my air units are a little bit out like matched, and it's like, okay, great. I need to very quickly select my air units and pull them out. And that would be great if there was like a shortcut to be like select air. But actually, no, it's like, okay, I've got to pick my Hornets, pull those out. Now I've got to pick my Nightingales, make sure they're pulled out. Now I've got to pick my Vultures, make sure they're picked out. If you're doing it, if you want to be that granular about it, you can't just say, here's my air units, pull them out. Unless you grouped them, which of course is the trick. Like the old school RTS thing is still valid, right? Group all your air units in group 4. But then I want that to be auto-grouping, ideally. Like, I don't want, like, every time I build new air units, it's like, alright, I've got to go find them, and I've got to go add them to group 4. It's like, can I just say, here's my air group, please? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
That would really make a difference for me. Like, here's my ground group. Here's my.
That's the sort of thing you could do quite well in like a home world or whatever. It had like select fighters, select interceptors, select bombers, all that.
Yeah, so like,
well
like
as having groups,
a select class. That would be neat. And maybe that could have done with more another menu. So it's like the UI isn't bad in places. Like when you select a load of units, it's like it gives you like a readout of the unit types down the bottom of the screen, and you can click those to select that specific unit. Like, you know, so, you know, if I've got a Spartan in my crew, he tends to always appear on the bottom left, which is quite useful. So I can always, like, I want my Spartan and I want him to hijack this thing. So you can very quickly go click there, and then go press, you know, R to do the move on that Wraith I want to take out of the picture and become mine. Like, that stuff's okay. But it's just like, I think actually when you've got like a massive army, that list can't always show every unit you have. Like, it spools onto multiple pages. So I actually have to scroll through one page of that with the mouse wheel, and then it's like, oh, now I'm on the second page of units, and there's the one I want. And sometimes that stuff actually becomes a little bit less manageable.
Right.
So while the UI seems like a neat design for perhaps a simpler RTS, because there's quite a lot of unit types now, I'm not sure it really works quite so neatly. Perhaps they need a slightly better system, or yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult problem, honestly. It really is. Like, just managing RTSs in general is a difficult problem, and like, fair play are the pros that do it, because it's hard.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But yeah, that game's pretty good. I don't know how much more time I'll spend with it, to be honest. I think I might be done. The potential for achievements is a lot, for me getting achievements anyway, is a lot lower, because there's more of a focus on multiplayer there, so less of a draw there for me. Sonic Mania Plus came out. The Encore DLC for owners who already have Sonic Mania, anyway. I couldn't help but yeah. I couldn't help but notice that things actually had a bit of a retail push, because they put out like a disc version of it now.
Yeah.
25 quid might be a little steep for the disc version, I don't know, but it's not too bad. But I've seen it like prominently displayed at like Tesco's. They'll be like, hey, Sonic Mania Plus is our game of the month or something, and just there. And it's like, oh, alright, pretty decent retail push. So it's both good and bad, this thing. Like, the good, it's only £4, like, to upgrade it. Like, it's basically a no-brainer. Just do it. But it's not... I don't think there's quite as much there as I would have liked, honestly. I think it's a little light on the added stuff. It's like ultimately, like, what they've done is they've rearranged some of the stages a little bit. Like, some of the enemy placement will be a bit different. Some sections of levels will be slightly modified to deal with it. There'll be some extra routes added to make for the new abilities of Mighty the Armadillo and Ray, who are the new characters. And they themselves do change things up a little bit, because they control a bit differently. They've got different maneuvers. Like, Mighty has the ground pound, basically. He slams into the ground, and which is quite useful for getting around places a little quicker at times, or landing a specific jump, because you can just go, woof, I'm on the floor now. And he also has, I think that murders stuff in a slightly bigger radius when you land, so you can use it to take some stuff out a little nicer. Also, I think he's a bit cheaty, Mighty, because, like, if you're in a ball, doesn't really get hurt by much. Like, you can, like, just jump straight at a spike, and he'll be fine. It'll just go doink, and he'll bounce off it. Like, he's an armadillo, I guess. He's got a super hardy shell. Spikes ain't no thing. And then there are some Mighty routes that you need to bust through a floor to get to, and things like that. So they have thought about that kind of stuff. Ray, I don't really care for. Yeah, he can glide, and he can glide basically forever, because you can actually gain height with him over time. So he's basically like a Knuckles Plus without the wall grabbing. So if you like the gliding, you can go a long way with him, and I think you could probably skip large portions of some levels, like just by gliding across them. So yeah, I don't really care for him, but But I guess the one of the bigger shakeups to Encore mode is just how it works. Actually, like there's no lives anymore.
Right.
You basically just have your pool of characters. So you start with like Sonic and Tails, but then you like build up. Now you've got Mighty in your crew. Now you've got Knuckles in your crew. And there's item boxes around the world that swap who your current set of players or set of characters are. Like at any one time, so say I've got like Sonic and Tails. Say I've got all 5 actually, like they're in my crew, but I might have Sonic and Tails out at the moment. So I'm playing. Sonic will be the character I'm currently controlling, and Tails will be following in classic fashion. At any time, I can push Y, provided not at any time, provided Tails is standing relatively close and isn't like dying or doing something stupid. You can press Y and it'll do a little like record scratch and go
Okay.
or whatever, and you'll swap to that character instead. So like in the 2 that are out, you can actually swap around, and it's like, oh, there's a Mighty route there. I've got Mighty out. I can slam that floor. But the problem is like you can only do that with the 2 characters that are out. The other ones are like in a stash, and you need to like hit an item box that will like randomize who's out at the moment. So there's a little bit of like, I might be able to go this way, I might not be able to go this way, I might be able to explore this area, but I might not, depending on what characters just happen to be out at that moment in time, which is kind of interesting. It sort of makes it a bit more random, I guess. It's like, I actually kind of like it. It's like, it's interesting. However, when a character dies, they just get removed from your group. It will go like it will go if a character is standing nearby at that moment in time when that character dies, it will just go record scratch, and then that character will be in control. However, most of the time, what I found is like normally when you die, like either your teammate's off screen or whatever, it was dying in some like terribly AI fashion, or cheat death, you fall off the bottom of the level. It will record scratch, and then you'll go back to the last star post, the classic continue point, and the character you were controlling will just be out. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't like go through a death sequence or anything. It's just like, okay, there you go, you're back here. But when it does do the star post thing, it's like it is resetting the level as if you died, but it's just doing it super fast. And the time's still continuing and things like that. It's actually it's actually really neat. It's just like, you're still in it, keep going. Obviously where that isn't true is in boss fights. It will like kick you out if you die during a boss fight. But that you'll lose that character, and then if I do it with a different character. I don't know. It's just an interesting twist. It's just a slightly different way of playing a Sonic game, and I'm kind of into it. It's kind of nice. Sonic Mania is not difficult enough where lives are really a concern. So like putting a sort of like 5 life limit and tying that to characters is actually kind of an interesting way of doing it. I like it.
But you can't get lives by jumping around on the score screen.
No, you can't. I can't bust that C rank and get because there's no ranks. But
0.
Yeah. 0.
Cool. Well, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. What else have they done? The levels are slightly there's like a palette swap in Encore mode, so the levels are slightly different coloured, so you know what mode you're playing, I suppose. There's a miniature sequence at the start of the game. We get to play a little bit of Angel Island Zone now. That's brand new. What else is there? All of the special stages are different, which is nice. So, and by special stages, I mean the sort of the cool 3D runny stuff. Or not Blue Sphere. Blue Sphere isn't a part of Encore mode. There's it's not there. It's not there at all.
Damn it! I haven't finished Blue Sphere. I needed a reason to do those last few gold medals.
Getting out the last few golds. Yeah, it's not there. It's not there at all. And instead, I actually think this is a step backwards. So what they've done is they've replaced Blue. Okay, so those are the bonus stages, not the specials.
Yeah.
The bonuses are now a pinball table because, of course, they are. But I think the physics are kind of garbage. And the idea is that you go off the top of the screen and then it starts like a little miniature crane game. And you can like pick up. It's a good way of getting your lives back because you can pick up characters that aren't currently in your group and it will put them into your group. And you can pick up the shields that you want. Great. You can get yourself sorted that way, but that's really all there is to it. It's like, that's it. There's no real point in spending a great deal of time in that machine. And also, but you could, if you wanted to, spend an infinite amount of time in that machine. Because it's the first time I played it, it wasn't all that difficult to just stay in the game and just keep playing the pointless machine over and over and over again. And it's not a great deal to it. It's like, I would have liked it if they had like taken cues from like Sonic 3 and Knuckles or something. You remember the sort of warpy ball bonus stage where you're like rotating around the balls and trying to fling yourself up the stage, but there's like power-ups on the way. But then you're also being choiced. You're also being choiced. You're being chased by like a death beam, but like it's not really a death beam, but it takes you out of the bonus stage. So you can't spend forever in it, right? There was something about those bonus stages from Sonic 3 and Knuckles that meant you just couldn't just grind them out forever.
Well, I don't think that one was infinite anyway, was it? You got to the top and then...
Yeah, you got to the top and it was over. Yeah. But like, and you're always being chased by the thing. And same with the was it the ball machine, the gacha ball machine? Like that would always fall when you ran out of like springs, so you couldn't just spend an infinite amount of time in them. And it's like, I think they missed a trick here. It's like it's not quite right. I like the pinball reference, and I sort of like the fact that it feels sort of styled on the bonus stages from Sonic Spinball, interestingly, but it's just not quite right. Like, I think that's actually the weakest part of this. But the new special stages, the new like running stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, it's the same special stage design as you had before, but they've replaced all of them, so you don't play the same ones, and they're balls hard. Like just they're really difficult. Like, so I'm nearly at the end of the playthrough, and I've been getting quite a few of the big rings. Which are in different positions sometimes as well. That's been moved around as well. So,
keep you on your toes.
Yeah, but they are really hard now. I've got like 2, I think, out of the 7 new ones. And I just the third one's giving me real trouble. Which is great. It's a reason to keep coming back. And they're some of the most fun. One of the best elements of like Sonic Mania are these special, the running special stages. But obviously, you only get one shot at it, and then you have to go find another big ring. And then it's like, crap! I really just want to have another go at this, and it's like, but I can't. Rats! I'm gonna have to go find another one. And it's like, I just want to keep playing them because they're so good, but gotta earn them. Where am I? I'm at Metallic Madness on my Encore playthrough, so I'm nearly at the end. Getting there. And they also made it so you can save a Knuckles and Knuckles run.
Oh, good.
Because the options are no longer, those special options are no longer tied to
the no save
slot. Yeah, so you can turn them on at any time for any save slot. So if I started a Knuckles run, for instance, it would be a Knuckles and Knuckles run. It would be considered a Knuckles run. So next time I went back to my save, it would just be like, hey, you've been playing as Knuckles up to this point. And I could just go to the option menu and turn and Knuckles back on and go back into it. Now, what I'm interested in is like, what happens if I've done a Sonic and Tails? I haven't tried this, but what if I've done a Sonic and Tails run and I turn and Knuckles mode on? Does that mean I get Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles mode?
Probably not.
No, it would probably just replace Tails with Knuckles, yes. But that would be pretty funny.
The real question is, like, how hasn't that ruined the secret ending of Knuckles and Knuckles? If you could just turn it on at the last moment.
I don't know. I'm going to try it because I haven't done a Knuckles and Knuckles run, because obviously that would mean
playing the whole thing again.
Well, yeah, and it used to be you had to sit down and do a no save run in one.
Yeah.
Which is, a bit of a time investment, but yeah, I will give it a go, see if you get the ending. But
I mean, that would be the best. That would actually be a good idea. Well, assuming you can still turn it on the no save slot, that would give you a reason to do that. Have that secret ending only be on the no save slot.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it is, but I wouldn't be surprised anyway, to be honest.
Yeah.
I never finished the Tails run, I realised the other day either, so I haven't seen the Tails ending.
Well, I think that is a different ending.
Is it not?
No, I think because
Sonic's just in it.
Well, because Sonic is the only one who can do the last boss.
Oh right, the Super
Sonic bit. So you just get like the generic ending as the other characters.
Disappointing. I thought Knuckles had a special ending, didn't he? I
think that's only the Knuckles and Knuckles.
Anyway, and the other bit I haven't actually been able to try yet is they've added 4-player competition mode to it now, so you can have 4-player racing, which sounds neat. I'd quite like to give that a go. Anyway, it's any excuse to play Sonic Mania, which is just a fantastic bloody game. And I'm in no way bored of it. Like, it's just like going back to it again. I'm just like, yep, this is fantastic. I'm quite happy to have a reason to be playing this again.
And a good reason, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's just an excellent thing.
Play more Sonic Mania.
Yeah. You've got no excuse. It's the best. Coffee. I'm a bit coffee today. Don't know why. A bit coffee because I haven't had my coffee, haven't I?
Perhaps that's it.
Actually, no, that's a lie. I think I've had 2 today. I need to go more. Don't know why there was a random sort of like tuneful bit of banging on the ceiling there from there. Maybe she's like, yeah, you did have a coffee. I made you one. All right.
Games.
Let's talk about the main. Let's talk about the main event. Let's do this. Yoku's Island Express.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you're in for a treat, my friend.
Probably not.
Oh no, this is
from this description anyway.
Well, no, this is the game that was clearly made for people like me. Like, honestly, this is like about as targeted as it gets.
Well, without just being an actual pinball game,
or being a Sonic game, right?
Well, except Sonic Mania, of course, the last game you're talking about, which was basically targeted at you.
It's basically exactly targeted at me. Yeah. So, Yoku's Island Express is a pinball platformer with Metroidvania elements. Let it sink in. Let it sink in. And you're a dung beetle. Hells yeah.
Okay, sounds intriguing.
It's fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. You're basically a dung beetle that turns up on a
Pinball planet.
Not a planet. It's kind of sort of just like a tropical island kind of thing, sort of. And you're immediately given the job of being the island's postmaster by a disgruntled pterodactyl, and you're then tasked with traveling around the island doing various jobs for people. But there is a sort of like a bigger story that reveals itself pretty early, and it's like, oh no, the island's quote unquote gods have been sort of injured by something called the Godslayer, and I have no idea what that's about at this point. But it's like, so it's like, oh, we need to get the island chiefs together. Can you go get them for us? You're the postman. Go deliver some post to them. So that's the main premise of the game. But the island's basically like, set up like you can move left and right, and that's about it. As in beetle form, the way you jump is like, because there's flippers everywhere, and you use the triggers on the controller to flip them, and then you have to do various things in these little miniature tables in order to get what you need in order to progress and stuff like that. So it's all little miniature pinball challenges here and there, and it's just a joy to play. It's like it's got a like semi cartoony but semi like claymation-y sort of look to it as well, sort of. I'm not called. It's like somewhere in the middle. It's not really claymation. It's not. It's like sort of 3D-ified drawings, basically. Like it's sort of. It's got a good look to it. Like I'd put it somewhere as like a not as fancy Ori, I guess.
Right.
And it's got like the tropical music is real nice and like is well made and things like that. It's as several sources have pointed out, an incredible late title card moment.
Always good.
Yeah, you're like half an hour into the game and then a thing happens and then it's like like title card and you're like, oh okay, that's excellent. That's really well done. I don't know. For a game I'm so big on, I'm having a hard time actually sort of putting together the words of like how else to praise it. Really, it's like it's such a sort of unique thing.
So how good is the elements of it, like the platforming versus the?
Okay, so the platforming is actually like perhaps it's not really platforming. Like you don't have a jump per se.
Right.
Like you can only really move left and right to sort of move around platforming bits. That does come into play in combination with the pinball in places, because it's like when you're like you don't really have air control. But when you're like on a surface, like in the middle of a ramp or something like that, you can impart a certain amount of momentum. So you can use that actually on the flippers, for instance, to like move left and like position yourself on the flipper a little bit to line up your shot a bit better, which is actually really cool, because it's like, I need to make this shot, but I'm trundling down. Oh, of course I'm trundling. I have a bit of control, so I can line this up even better and make sure I get the shot. So that stuff's pretty neat. And you do get abilities along the way that do involve some amount of more traditional stuff. I don't think it's any real spoiler to say that you get the ability to swim at one point, so you can go diving and find more things and find more routes. It's made pretty obvious at the start of the game that that's going to be a thing, so no spoilers there. Although I've only really got the ability fairly late in, but because of its nature, you probably could get that a lot earlier than I did. The way it's structured is like you can choose your path. You don't have to go to the chief it recommends first. You can go other ways. I ended up doing one of the longer routes first, which was actually probably a good idea because it gives you a fairly decent climbing ability, where a little pet of yours, you end up getting a little pet that sort of flies out of you and to attach to certain plants, and you can swing around those plants and fling yourself places. And I suppose that's where like a little bit platformy, I suppose, because it's suddenly turned into a bit of timey sort of thing. You're just spinning around the thing, and you've got to release at the right time to go the right direction, and then chain it together to do some climbing. And it's so there's that part of it, and I don't know. It's like, the platformy side is, I guess you could argue, is quite simple, but it does work. It does chain to get, it does gel with the pinball exploration pretty well. And, for calmer moments where you need to talk to people, it makes sense to just roll around and go up to someone and be like, what's your deal? And I suppose like the next point is like the writing's pretty good. When there isn't a lot of it, but when it needs to talk to you, some of it's pretty great. Like,
is it in translation then, or is it who made this again?
Villa Gorilla, published by Team 17. So I don't know if Villa Gorilla have made anything before this. I don't know if it's like a new team or anything, but it's definitely a Team 17 published gig.
Right, but that's British, isn't it? Team 17.
Yeah.
So is it a British game?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I haven't researched Villa Gorilla yet. I'm just playing it.
Yeah, of course.
It's I don't know. It's just a real charming, feel good game.
Sounds great. So what platform was it again? Steam?
Steam is the version I'm playing. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. I would be surprised if they didn't put out a Switch version.
I think it is on the Switch.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. It's great. I've been playing it with my sync lights as well. So when I'm in the icy area, everything's all blue. And when I'm underground, it's all sort of nice and dim. Nice. There's something about like a secret. Like there are secrets that the game is going on. There's a really creepy moment where like the first time you drain a ball, or after a few times you've drained a ball into a thing, which doesn't really. You don't die in this game. You just lose a bit of currency in your wallet whenever you sort of fall down in between the flippers and on certain pinball sections, which is nice. So there's no real sort of like defeat state. But when you go down, there's like it's sort of cut to like a shady set of people in a weird looking cage, and then a counter went up above this cage to be like and I've seen it like a couple of times where I've drained past a certain threshold, like 30 deaths or whatever, and then this counter's gone up to 30 and it's cut to this thing to be like, oh, what's going on with this cage? And it's like, I bet that's like a secret for like if you don't die at all or something. There's like this shady underground organization. There's someone who doesn't get your deal about why you're pushing around a ball all the time. Because it's not a ball of dung. It's just a ball.
I see.
you may be a dung beetle, but you're like tethered to this silver ball. And it's never really explained. And he's like, "What's the deal anyway?"
What's the reason for this? Mysterious. Seg, you got any interest in this? Sounds like it might be your kind of thing too.
Yeah, maybe. Might be something to play on the Switch almost. Because, I guess, you always want triggers, and the Switch's button triggers may be better than regular triggers.
I think I'd agree with you. Yeah, because I don't really like playing. I've played like pinball games on controller before, and I haven't really liked the squidgy analog way of playing it.
Yeah.
And that's the way you're encouraged to play this, so that's the way I am playing this. But I think I would have preferred it on bumpers rather than on triggers. I haven't tried to see if I could remap the controls. I probably could.
Yeah, probably.
Might. Oh, it's squidgy on PlayStation as well now, isn't it? Actually thinking about it. So if they did a PlayStation, it would be squidgy there as well. Yeah, Switch version would probably be pretty great, in fairness. It's not like there's many buttons. Don't even need the B button. Don't think it's ever used.
Although, of course, missing the opportunity to turn the Switch sideways and have an actual pinball table.
Yeah. No, it's definitely designed for widescreen. Yeah, a really good map. It's got to be said. It's a really good map. It just zooms out seamlessly from where you are to show the world around you.
Nice.
And you could zoom back into exactly where you were, and it's like, yeah, it's done really well.
Yeah, what would be a really unnecessary but totally ridiculous attachment for the Switch would be a piece of plastic that you could mount into one of the rails that would then let you mount the Joy-Cons vertically alongside the screen, so you actually could hold it like vertically with a pinball table on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
a little frame. Yeah.
It would be like a rail that mounts sideways onto two more rails, so you can still attach the Joy-Cons to it, but hold it vertical.
Hey, that's news. Did you see the new Joy-Cons?
What about them specifically?
That they've changed the button layout on the left-hand one, so it's not a button layout, it's a D-pad.
I'm pretty sure they already announced that at some point.
No, it's been on, but I didn't.
seen that.
No, I only spotted this fairly recently. I was like, I'd forgotten about it because I don't think it's new news.
No.
Like it's something we missed. But I was like, ooh, a D-pad. That seems cool.
But they're fully compatible, are they? So you can upgrade your Joy-Cons.
Yeah. I think they just work like those buttons do. I don't know what that means for the right Joy-Con. Like, does that just always have buttons?
Well, probably.
Yeah. Or does someone playing with the left-hand Joy-Con have to have a weird sort of button layout? But like, if they're using it as just like a single Joy-Con, but
it's not that unusual because the Pro Controller has a D-pad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like it doesn't exist already.
They're getting ready for Pokemon or something.
I still feel like I kind of almost need a new pair of Joy-Cons because maybe my Joy-Con, or my pre-fucked up Joy-Con, maybe that's still awkward. I can't tell.
You mean the battery drain on the left?
Yeah, the battery drain and like the weak signal. I don't notice the weak signal. I mean, it's happened occasionally in Zelda. The weird thing is I keep getting confused because when I'm playing Fallout Shelter, I think that game has a bug where it just scrolls down the screen for no reason.
No, right.
And that's the right-hand stick, not the left-hand stick, so it's not actually the same thing. I keep getting confused because I'm like, oh, the signal's dropping, it's locking, last input or whatever, but it's not actually, that's the right stick, not the left one.
I did have quite a few problems when I had your Switch. Like, even here, just that little bit of distance.
Yeah, because you're way further away than I am when I'm using mine.
Just that little bit of distance I did have. It was always the left as well. It was definitely always the left that cut out. But the problem is like, I haven't
turn left.
Exactly, yeah. But I can't really say I've had a comparison now because I've not really used I didn't use my Joy-Con in the controller adapter all that much since I've had my Switch because I've had the Pro Controller.
Yeah.
And so I've been using that primarily. So I can't say I've got a good comparison for you.
I should just steal your Joy-Cons.
Well, and I'll just use the program. I do take my Switch about every now and
then. You can have my ones, because if they're attached or really close by, it won't matter.
True. It could be worth an experiment. Yeah. See if it makes a difference for you. Or at least you'd know, right?
Well, I I don't think it does actually make that much of a difference. It's like the trouble is, I think it is actually quite a close rate. Like, if I'm leaning back in my chair, sometimes I think it happens more, and that's barely a foot worth of distance.
Yeah, but then again, I think the distance, because part of the reason why, well, other than the fact that it's easier to lift the Switch in and out of the dock, where I have my Switch on the floor right now, but I used to do that instinctively with yours just because it gave me that extra foot, and I do think that made a difference. But
it should, I'm so close to it anyway, it's you wouldn't have thought it would be that much of a distance difference anyway.
True.
I don't think it matters that much.
Depends how much Super Mario Party you want to play, really. How many other players you want.
Yes. We're thinking to the future when we might need actual
controllers, yeah. I suppose Dan just comes around, he's got another 2 controllers. It's we'll be fine.
Yeah,
that's true.
That big Super Mario Party player that you are.
Oh, man. I can't believe that series is still going.
I know. It is quite incredible, really. I mean, I guess they must all still sell, even the really bad ones.
Well, I think it's only amazing it's still going because the last ones have been bad.
Yeah.
Up to 8, it was fine.
I don't know, 8 was arguably still okay.
Well, that's what I mean. Up to 8, it was fine.
I mean...
9 and 10 were the bad ones.
I mean, did we play 6 and 7?
No, but they were supposedly just, the same.
Yeah. Well, now, wasn't one of them weird and have mic support or something?
Well, they had mic support, but that didn't necessarily make it bad. That just made some of the minigames bad.
Yeah.
Or dumb, at least. It was only once they changed the actual formula in 9 and 10, that was where it's you fucked it up.
Was there a 10?
Yeah.
Was there really a 10?
Yeah. It was the same as... They did the same stupid cart thing.
I can't remember. I remember the cart being introduced in 9. I just didn't realise 10 had happened. That's how little I care now.
I'm pretty sure. Anyway. But yeah, that's the only reason why it's amazing that it's still continuing, because they very nearly fucked it up.
But they did always need to... the mini-games were never the problem in that series. The mini-games were always, they did their job.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever really nailed the board game formula in Mario Party. There's always been something a little wrong with it, or it plays too slow in some way.
Well, it always plays too slow.
Or there's too much sequence, or there's too much, there's no way of just, getting on with it. There's always been something not quite right. That ends up being a massive put-off eventually. You play a couple of rounds and it's I don't really want to have to go through all that.
Well, that was the big problem that we always had with 8.
Yeah.
All the goddamn candy takes fucking forever.
Oh, God, yeah.
Transformation sequences.
Yeah, it just everything took far too long. I forgot, the candy sequence.
And also, the board design of 8 was... They tried to do different things, but a lot of them were too simple.
Oh, some of them, some of them were really cool in idea. I actually really quite liked the idea of that Monopoly, the Monopoly one, or where it's not really about winning the stars because you got their point. It's actually about the sort of business, and managing
technically, what that was actually about was just coin score.
Yeah,
it was just a map that was based purely on how many coins you got.
Kinda, yeah.
But then you had the beach level where it was just a straight line. That kind of... I mean, it was a sort of an idea, but it doesn't really make it that interesting.
I mean, the Ghost House one had promise as well, because it was randomised.
Mm.
The board layout was randomised every time the players went into the house or something.
Yeah. They tried to do things, but it didn't always work.
No.
And everything just took too long.
Yeah, just speed it up, Ninty. I know it's generally a Ninty problem, but it is one that they've been sort of pushing away from, right? Okay, Mario only has the slight problem where when you die, you have to sit through that coin deduction sequence.
Yeah,
it's which is quite short, in fairness, and it's not quite as bad as, I don't know, when you died in Sunshine is the one that comes to mind for some reason. When you die and it goes, you have to sit through the blah 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 blah. Too bad. Sequence. Or did it only do... No, it did do that every time you die. Like, it had some sort of thing, didn't it?
Well, the main thing was it had to kick you back out to the hub. That was the thing that took the most time.
Oh, if you ran out of lives, yeah.
Well, not every time you died.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because it restarts the star or whatever. Kicks you out.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot how Mario actually used the word before, honestly.
Yeah, you're right, of course, because it would kick... Yeah, absolutely, it would kick you out of the portal in 64, and then you'd sit there for a bit going, oh, that was rough.
Well, you didn't have to have that whole sequence play, you could just jump straight back in.
But... I thought there was a bit of menu pop-up or something when that happened. Oh, no, maybe not. Yeah. Anyway, they have got. I feel like they've got slightly better at that stuff. I don't feel there was too much faff in Mario Kart, for instance. But then I don't think Mario Kart has had that much faff anyway. But
every game like that just needs the hold down a button to speed everything up.
Yeah, it really does.
There's been a couple of games that have had that, and it's just like everyone should do this because it just makes it so much better.
I know they're just trying to make it friendly for some players to be like, what if I don't know this part? I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Then, just shout at people. That can be easily solved. It's a local game. It's not like online or anything like that. I think sometimes that would be nice from some of the Jackbox stuff as well. It's like, hey, we don't need the instructions here. Just go.
Well,
and some of them do that, or even Jackbox-like games. Like there was, I can't even remember what it's called now. But there's that bad PlayStation one that I've played a few times. Where it just talks for far too long. It's like, get to the question, get to the interesting part. We don't need to hear you because you're bad. Like, at least in Jackbox, generally the voiceovers are pretty good. But, when you get a bad voiceover, that odd occasion, it's just like, no, shut up, just carry on. The actual game is fine, I just don't need to hear you. Please skip. Just please skip. Hey, games. Let me skip you. Let me play less of you. Or spend less time with you so I can play more of you. I don't know how that works. Make my percentage more play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I will say that about Yoku, actually. There's basically never a moment where the game really repositions you. Like, you're never put anywhere. It never, fades out and fades in, or it goes through... There's no sequences, really, in the game. It's just like, you're just going... The sequences are what you do. Which is quite nice. Oh, no, that's a lie. There's one sequence I can think of. Other than where it cuts away to show you the mysterious people as well. Okay, so two times that's maybe happened, but it's normally pretty great about that stuff. And then even then, it's not when I moved somewhere. It just cut away for a moment. Like, you did this thing. Yeah, Yoku's Island Express. Really, 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 really good.
Check it out on Steam, Yoku's Island Express.
Not all that expensive either. It's like 15 quid or something.
Oh, sounds like a bargain.
Good purchase. And I'm having one of those moments where I'm sure there was something else I played, but it's probably not relevant right now.
Okay, well, we can scoop that up for next time.
I've kind of been wanting to play Fortnite. I don't know why.
It's because you see it constantly everywhere. You can't escape.
God, it's like it's a bad part. This is it's worrying. Like, if my psyche
weird how
is
everyone is talking about Fortnite outside of actual gaming people. It's really weird because it's not that accessible. I guess it is, but it's still a kind of a shooter. I don't know. It seems a bit weird that everyone's going on about it constantly.
Yeah, it's become a known word, hasn't it? Which doesn't happen all that much in games.
No.
It's like, are you playing that Minecraft? Oh, I'm doing that Fortnite. And it's like, no, I'm playing Mario. And it's like, who's Mario?
I'm not quite sure it's that bad.
It's getting there, though.
It's true. If you said Splatoon, they'd have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like, what? Actually, no, I do know a few kids of people I know who know exactly what Splatoon is.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you see the word Fortnite on, BBC News.
Yeah, and it's just, implied that everyone knows what that is now.
Yeah.
Are you flossing? No.
And it came out on Switch, right? So
Yeah, which is a fairly big deal. And that whole PlayStation fight, yada yada yada.
yeah. Well, but you'd go back to it on Xbox, or
I'd probably try the PC build.
Yeah.
I think at this point. I mean, I haven't touched the Xbox version since like season 1, or like when it was, or maybe even when it was still considered. Is it still considered early access? That's an interesting
I don't
one.
think so.
No, I doubt it now. Yeah, but yeah, I'd probably give the PC one a shot, just because I think I might get to grips with some of its building controls a little easier there. I think. If I even play building at all. I don't know. It's kind of an important part of the game.
Yeah, but you have much choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've been tempted, but then there's other stuff I want to play.
Yeah.
I should play some Final Fantasy 15. I say that for months. Alright, I'm done here. Expect some Gungeon videos.
Yeah, there'll be some Gungeon videos. Is that right? Coming up.
There will be.
Cool.
At least one.
Yeah.
2 eventually.
I'm still having my wrist trouble, so I haven't been playing any games. But
Oh, no.
I did get a keyboard to try. I haven't tried it yet, but at work, like a split keyboard, Microsoft
Oh,
one.
cool.
So I'll see how that works. It seemed quite good when I got it out of the box, but I haven't really tried it. But hopefully that'll help, and I can return to stuff. I might
Still not
look into
feeling
getting
quite... No, so it's still not good enough really for controller holding even.
Not really. I mean, it's just like I don't want to do anything that could make it worse or whatever. Like when I go to sleep.
Does this mean you're watching a lot of TV?
Yes, it does, which is weird. Although I'm rewatching that Vietnam War documentary series, which is insanely long. So that's been taking up my time and very depressing. It's very good. I recommend it highly. It's on Netflix, but it's pretty miserable. It's Ken Burns.
I'm 2 episodes into Parks and Rec that everyone seems to rave about.
Sweet. Well, yeah, it's just like all of those half-hour comedies that everyone raves about, in that it only gets good after 2 seasons. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that feeling. I quite liked the pilot, but boy, episode 2 was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do say, I have been told to stick with it, it gets good. And I'm like, yep, can you just tell me where the good part is? Do I need to catch up?
I mean, maybe...
Is there much for story?
Not that much. You probably could skip. Maybe just skip ahead.
Yeah, we'll see. See how I feel about it.
You want to skip to where Rob Lowe and whatever the other guy is get introduced. I think that's the end of the 2nd season. Anyway, there's loads of it, so I don't think you'd worry about missing out on too much.
Oh, but then Attack on Titan 3 is like airing soon as well, so I might get distracted.
Oh, they're fine. Whatever.
Come on, man. Attack on Titan, it's so good. So good.
Isn't there a game for that?
2 of them, I think.
Okay.
They're pretty much the same.
So, enter the Gungeon videos, and do check out the Sonic Colors one that we promised.
That happened, didn't it?
Yeah,
I did upload that? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Endless credit sequence has been viewed.
Oh, yeah.
I did watch it. It was a fun time. Spungle is massive. That was a good one.
Boreal, yes.
Yeah, that was the highlight for me.
Wicked.
Wicked. Booyaka.
We're so
funny. So check that out if you want to. And then there'll be Enter the Gungeon. And that's it for this week, I guess, from the Saladcast. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Yarp. Catch them, listeners.
Have fun playing games with your thumbs. It's a catchphrase.
Bye.
No, it's not.